Baby walk. Kia ora. Let's go. How are you? Welcome, welcome. Salam, Jujus. Hey, Amandine. Woo! Oh, shit. Hey, Doug. Oh, this is some straight up D&B, folks. Some dubstep. Who here likes a bit of dubstep? Just a little bit of dubstep. You know? Hey, Jesse. Welcome. Wob, wob, wob. Get some of that wob, wob, wob. Am I echoing? Oh, shit. You're talking about dubstep? Right. Hey, True Sensei. Cups of tea. No, I'm not starting late today. I started at 7:30. Okay, 30 minutes late. Welcome in, everybody. Just get some of that dubstep in you. How about you get some of that dubstep in you? Huh? Get some of that dubstep in you. Oh, shit. Hey, Lordly, welcome. Let's just turn this up a little bit. Get that in your ear. June, brother. Oh, shit. Some of the wob wobs. Oh, shit. Welcome in, everybody. Hopefully this wob wob makes up for Jake Tapper's face on the screen. Hey, Big Jerry, welcome. Hey, Lisa. Come on in, folks. Today we're going to be talking about Venezuela to begin with. Obviously, a dire situation there. Lots of people under the rubble. The death toll is now starting to get up to 1,000 people, if not already over 1,000. And after that, we're going to talk about a new development in the Epstein files situation. So, I mean, if they release more files, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it. But yeah, and then we're going to get into some updates on Iran. and finish off the night with some documentaries and maybe even some big tunes. Some big tunes. Cypher, hello. Welcome in, folks. Welcome in. It's great to have you here on this Saturday night in Aotearoa. Let's get into it. Here's Jake Tapper. Venezuela quake death toll nears 1,000 as foreign rescuers arrive.
Venezuela, as we come up on 48 hours since Wednesday's devastating earthquakes, authorities are now reporting more than 900 lives lost and hundreds of others remain missing. New video today helps explain why. This is from a drone over the state of La Guaira, right along Venezuela's northern coast, about 15 miles north of Caracas, and some 200 miles from the epicenter. It's a tourist town to some, home to so many others.
Hey,
Rescuers
Kelly.
believe people could be buried alive under those huge piles of rubble where many tall buildings once stood. Also, since
Amira.
Wednesday's back-to-back quakes, experts say there have been more than 300 aftershocks. That's, of course, only complicated any search and rescue efforts. Crews are calling this period the golden window. Within 48 hours, they have a greater chance of finding people alive. Tomorrow, at this same time, the chances of them being alive still dramatically plunge. On top of the desperation, there's also growing frustration. Residents are calling on anyone and everyone to help find survivors who might be trapped, and that help is on the way. That help is on the way. More than 800 rescuers are coming from around the world. The U.S. alone sending more than 300 people, but getting in for some can be difficult. Some airports in Venezuela were also badly damaged, including the very tarmacs pilots need to make a safe landing. CNN's Stefano Pozzebon starts us off with new video showing the impact of this mounting disaster.
Panic on board as passengers brace through powerful tremors. Just one glimpse of the chaos unleashed after two massive earthquakes struck Venezuela. This image from the public broadcaster Telesur shows large cracks splitting the tarmac at Caracas International Airport, underscoring the damage to critical infrastructure. Tens of thousands are still reported missing.
Tens of thousands are still reported missing. Tens of thousands, everybody.
Emergency teams are racing against time to dig through shattered concrete, listening for any sign of life. In the Caracas district of Chacao, rescuers pulled survivors from a collapsed apartment building, while others remain trapped inside.
We have rescued 3 people, and there are 3 more alive inside the structure. God willing, they will be rescued very soon.
As Venezuela struggles to cope with the scale of the disaster, international help is finally trickling in. But the logistical challenges to mobilize the aid remain. These relief convoys loaded with food and water are heading toward the hardest hit communities, as officials work to support tens of thousands of displaced families, while the priority remains to rescue survivors before time runs out. Stefano Pozzebon, CNN.
Yeah, this is pretty massive, guys. Like 1,000 people already. There's the website showing missing people is like up to almost 50,000 people missing.
And our thanks to Stefano Pozzebon for that report. Let's bring in Nicole Cast. She's with the International Rescue Committee, or IRC, coordinating emergency efforts across the Venezuelan border in Colombia. Thanks for joining us. Let's start with the effort to just get into Venezuela. We've seen the damage to airport tarmacs and surrounding areas. How do teams work around that and get in there?
Thank you so much. Yes, it is an extreme challenge to get into Venezuela at this time because, as you've seen in these images that you just shared, the airport suffered significant damage and is not really available for humanitarian workers. So we're looking at the option of entering via other airports in other areas of the country that have been open for international flights recently and have opened additional routes, and also by land, although there are also significant challenges with that. We know that Venezuela still has a context of significant access restraints in which humanitarian workers have difficulty often crossing by land.
Doctors are warning of chronic underfunding in Venezuela, which has left hospitals unequipped to treat this surge of patients because of longstanding problems in that country. Do you see that complicating the rescue part of these operations?
Absolutely. We have to remember that Caracas is the center of the country, the capital, and also the place where all higher level or specialist health facilities are located. And so many of these facilities, including pediatric facilities and others, suffered significant damage, had to be evacuated completely. And that means that all of those patients are now looking for another place for support and help. And so the need in terms of health is significant. And this is one of the areas that the International Rescue Committee is considering in our response.
What do people in Venezuela right now need beyond those under the rubble who need rescuing, and how can people help?
Well, of course, in these first 72 hours, the priority is search and rescue operations. But as those finish up, our priority and those of the larger humanitarian community is really supporting people who survived. And we're going to focus on basic needs initially. Many people are displaced from their homes. Significant part of the affected area has suffered from structural damage. And so families are sleeping on the streets. And our own team, the International Rescue Committee's team on the ground, also is sleeping on the street at these last few nights. And that means that shelters are filling up. And so people in those shelters need basic supplies. This includes hygiene supplies, and also supplies for specific populations, children, women. And so that's going to be the priority in the next few days. And then in the coming weeks, I'm sure we'll see some increased needs in food security, as many supermarkets and other places that provided food supplies also suffered damage. So we'll see an increase in hunger, which was already a challenge in Venezuela, a country that's suffering from malnutrition, and also additional health needs. We see that water and sanitation systems have been heavily affected also by this incident.
From a medical perspective, first of all, just tell us what you have been seeing, you and your colleagues have been seeing for the past 48 hours.
See, thank you very much for the opportunity. What we're seeing in our hospital right now in Venezuela with this catastrophe after the 2 earthquakes is a very difficult situation for us, because this earthquake caught us in a complex humanitarian emergency that we have lived for more than 15 years. Not saying for us, saying for the World Health Organization. So we are lacking of antibiotics, we are lacking of other important medical supplies in the urgency rooms and operating room, that makes us very, very difficult to give to our patient a quite well attention in the hospital. 2 of the hospital in Caracas has collapsed because the structure is very, very old, and there's no maintenance. They're not do the things every well. So we have to send our patient to different hospitals in Venezuela that are almost in the same lacking of medicines that the whole Venezuela is going through the last 15 years.
Doctor, you just said, and correct me if I'm wrong, that 2 of the hospitals in Caracas have collapsed. Can you just tell me that, clear that for me? What hospitals were these? Can you just clarify this?
Holy shit.
Yes, the one hospital in the area of metropolitan area of Caracas, Hospital de Coche is the name. Two blocks of the building collapsed one over the other, and the other hospital is in La Guaira, where is the most terrible thing that happened during this earthquake.
Yeah, and we've seen the scenes out of La Guaira. In fact, we're just playing some of them now on TV for our viewers. It's one of the most affected, it seems, Doctor. And already I've reported from hospitals inside Venezuela. They have been facing lack of necessary resources for many, many years, as viewers will know. What does something of this scale, catastrophe of this scale, what does that mean for every day, for patients every day? Give us a sense of hospital beds, something like aspirin, imaging equipment? Do you have, what do you need, doctor?
Elements.
Well, we need many things. First, we need water. We don't have enough water in the hospital for the patient, for all the things we have to do. We need antibiotics. We need anesthetic. We need even the sheets, paper sheets for the beds of the patient. We also need all the things. Of course, solution, intravenous solution. We are lacking all this before the earthquake, before the pandemic, before the blockade of the United States. So this emergency or this catastrophe faced us with all this lacking, all this with the collapsed healthcare system in Venezuela. It's very hard for us, all the medicals and nurses, to face this patient that needs all these things, and we don't have more than our willingness to help them in this situation.
Have you seen, Doctor, have you seen aid starting to trickle in? Are you starting to see some of those items of shortages you're talking about? Have they started to arrive yet, Doctor?
I think they're arriving to Venezuela, but the thing is, the health minister, there's no distribute these things with transparency. We don't know what arrived to Venezuela. We don't know where are those things that are coming from the international health thing. Yeah. So we don't know the medical person, all the medical assistants. We don't know where is all those help that is coming from international helping or aids to Venezuela. That's the problem.
How much? Yeah, indeed. How much trust then, Doctor, given what you've just said, do you have in the government of Delcy Rodriguez, who was part, of course, of Nicolas Maduro's team?
Here we go. CNN politicizing the whole thing
for many years, and I don't want to politicize this, but this is about having a handle on a catastrophe of this magnitude. How much faith and belief that do you have that this government under Delcy Rodriguez has a handle on this crisis?
Of course, we don't believe what they say. For example, we know till today that there was only 250 killed person, and now, because you tell us that almost that 1,000 people killed during the earthquake. That's the problem, that they say one thing inside Venezuela and say another thing and try to see that the word that here all is okay. Here not is okay. We haven't seen people, as you say in the beginning of the interview, the family is trying with the bare hand, trying to rescue the patient under the collapsed building.
The rubble.
We haven't seen any big machine trying to do that. It's very terrible for population see that the government is facing to other side and not into Venezuela.
Yeah, and that is a huge concern. Why so many people be using their bare hands to try and to try and clear the rubble.
Oh, I just want to. CNN is so fucking useless, bro. My goodness, I can't believe they did this. They're taking a country that is in on its knees. They're taking a country that's on its knees for so long, and then asking whether how the government is performing. These people are evil. Mainstream media is fucking evil. I hate it. Okay. Let's talk about, there's been a new earthquake as well, 4.9 earthquake in Venezuela.
Now, there are reports of another earthquake that has struck off the north coast of Venezuela. This is just days after twin earthquakes killed nearly 1,000 people. This latest one, it measures at about 4.9 magnitude and has reportedly been felt in the capital, Caracas.
And meanwhile there, tens of thousands of people are still missing after the disaster on Wednesday.
Top of the morning,
International rescue
Granite
teams
One.
have now
Top of the
joined
morning
the
to
search
you.
for survivors. North America correspondent Cayman Gok has the latest from Washington, D.C.
The numbers are shocking, and the expectation is that they could dramatically rise from here, and that demonstrates the scale of this rare natural disaster to have back-to-back earthquakes. There's a website which accounts for people reportedly missing, and it says that more than 50,000 people are still unaccounted for. We have hundreds of dead.
50,000 people. Think about this. 50,000 people.
Thousands of injured.
In the space of 2 minutes. 2 minutes. This earthquake was 2 fucking minutes, bro. That's it. 50,000 people in 2 minutes gone. That's the power of Mother Nature.
Hundreds of buildings have been destroyed or damaged, and this is critical infrastructure that includes things like Caracas's main airport, more than a dozen hospitals. Now
Hey,
we're
Lainey,
hearing
welcome.
reports that hospital staff are having supply shortages due to the severe volume of those injured rushing in, needing their...
So far, 1,000 people have been have been confirmed dead. Less than 1,000, just less than 1,000. It was 200 yesterday. It's 1,000 today, and there are 50,000 people, over 50,000 people missing.
Help. Now, a mammoth search is underway, and crews are desperately trying to rescue people in these critical hours. But the fact of the matter is the scale of this disaster is so large, they don't have enough heavy machinery to help find people trapped under mounds of concrete, and that is hindering these search.
Yeah, exactly, Mama Kona. The thing about natural disasters is it's not political. Like, you can't blame it on politics. With Gaza, it's very different, isn't it? It's very different. It's because the West is bombing Gaza, and therefore it's a very political thing, and hence why they won't rally around Gaza. It's very racist. It's very white supremacist. It's the West doing what the West has already done. West has done so many times.
Efforts. And this is a country that was already in a humanitarian crisis. Over the last decade, nearly 8 million Venezuelans had fled the country for a number of reasons, due to human rights limitations, a failing economy.
I blame the Americans. Anywhere the Yanks set their feet, it's always worse for it. They have caused so much trouble, and now this happens. Yeah.
Crumbling infrastructure, corruption in the nation, a lack of job opportunities. So this country was already suffering. Now millions of Venezuelans who are abroad are trying to contact loved ones who stayed, and they're having trouble doing so because so many communication lines are down because of this disaster as well. And the stories that we are hearing are horrific. Those who have survived, many know that their loved ones have died, and others are just waiting helplessly to see or hear news if friends and family have made it out alive. Take a listen.
Mi hermano, mi cuñada, mi sobrina, mi sobrino.
My brother, my sister-in-law, my niece, my nephew and friends are in there. I got here yesterday at 4 in the afternoon because I came from another city, and nothing has been cleared. Everything is exactly the same. They haven't cleared anything. Where is the help? I don't see it.
Mira, todavía hay humo, no veo bomberos aquí apagando fuego, o sea, no veo nada.
More than 20 of my relatives have died here and in the Caribbean area in Tanaguarena. I've been left practically alone in this world. I'm alone.
Just a devastating...
Mama, we can mourn Gaza and we can mourn Venezuelans, okay? We don't have to use every moment for, we don't have to minimize something to make a maximal effect on the other. Just don't get into that. It's we're talking about Venezuela. It's okay. We talk about Gaza here all the time. We talk about other areas all the time.
Wait for so many people there, Cayman, but international assistance is starting to arrive.
Yeah, the international response has been immense, but as you heard, there is...
Do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? Someone on TikTok asked me if I condemn Hamas.
Frustration because the issue is getting them to Venezuela at the moment, given the fact that the main airport is down. But countries from around the world have rallied to provide aid and support. We know that many of the Latin American neighbours like Colombia, there are countries like the UK, Turkey and the United States, to name a few, are offering help and search crews, as well as even the Vatican sending aid to this country in need right now. In particular, the United States, it's significant because only 7 months ago, America considered Venezuela an enemy. In fact, in January, United States...
Oh! Texas becomes the first state to require students to read the Bible. Oh! It's the reverse Shakira law, everybody. You get a Bible. You get a Bible. We get a Bible. We all get a freaking Bible.
You follow a detective.
Well, hey. Well, hey. Good day. Cletus, did you say news? Did you say the news, Cletus? God dang. They gonna put Bible in the schools, Cletus. Yee-haw. We about to have Jesus in schools, Cletus. And I mean the blonde, blue-eyed Jesus, Cletus. Not that goddamn brown Jesus. Yeah, 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 yeah. Let's get it, Cletus. Bring on the load. We about to get the load at school. Praise be. Praise be Lord. God damn. Cletus, get your Bible here and get me a couple of glasses of that goddamn moonshine right now. We about to bring some passengers, God damn it. Let's get those passengers go, Cletus. Moonshine Bible right now. I got some goddamn holy water on me. God damn it. No! No! No, God damn it! No holy water here, God damn no! These are electronics, ma'am. Get the hell out of my room, thank you. No! All right, folks. Get them goddamn Bibles out, I tell you. We ain't getting no Shakira law in this motherfucker. Barbecue and the Bible. B&B, baby. Yee-haw! B&B.
Its troops literally went into the capital of Venezuela in the middle of the night to capture then leader Nicolas Maduro in a brazen military raid to take him to a New York prison. But ever since that, the dynamic has changed, and now the United States, it's...
Them what them folks call that Airbnb.
Its initial response has been significant. It's announced more than $200 million in aid. It's sending search crews on the ground, and it's using its Department of War assets for them to get there because of the fact that that airport is down. It's even lifted some sanctions to allow more aid to flow freely to Venezuela. Now, the United Nations is facilitating much of this aid, and the World Food Programme says it has enough food to feed 10,000 families for 2 months. And Venezuela will need that because whilst in the initial hours that follow, it's important to try and save as many people as possible. This is a country that was in economic turmoil and political turmoil and in a humanitarian crisis. It will need that long-term support if it's ever to rebuild and recover, because the scale of this disaster has impacted this country far and wide.
All right, North America correspondent Cayman Gok with the latest there. Thank you.
Hey, Jenny. Welcome, Jenny. Irish Tal. 50,000 people dead, yeah. They're saying Iran going to respond hard. Oh, yeah. Can I just say this has got to be, in terms of, guys, in 2 minutes, 50,000 people have disappeared. 2 minutes. Think about that. It's so hugely fucked. It's such a sad story. I know I kind of digressed to that, but please just know this is insane. Run GMC, hello. Thank you for the follow. Just before we move forward, I do want to talk about Bibles in schools. It was reported on Clash. What is it? Kalshi. Kalshi reported it. Look at the comments. Yes, because how dare people read a book that teaches people to forgive, love their enemies, pray for one another, and love your neighbor as yourself. What the fuck is this gaslighting, man? Reading a book isn't Sharia law, LMAO. Would you be okay with students reading books with LGBTQ characters? Homosexuality and transgenderism is depraved and... oh my gosh. Look at this. Christian nationalism is just Sharia law with bacon and beer. You know, America, I want to feel sad for you. But I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Just don't send your kids to Texas, I guess. Yahoo! Come on, folks! Let's get to that Bible bashing. Let's bash some goddamn Bible. Yeah. Watching a TV series called The Leftovers currently that deals with the concept of 2% of the world's population spontaneously disappearing at a moment's notice, and its parallels to disasters like this is so... yeah, that's crazy. Texas buys so many school books, it actually affects most of the country. Yeah. I do feel bad for the kids in Texas. I do worry about the Americans that didn't vote for him. Yeah, but, you know, you keep voting for the two-party system. You keep voting blue or red and take part in politics once every 4 years, and this is the bullshit you get. This is the dog shit you get when you think politics is a 4-year a popularity contest that comes around every 4 years. This is the dog shit that you end up with. What are you gonna do? You know? America, baby! America! Yeah! I want that goddamn Shakira law. Yeah. America. It's tragic. It's tragic that children have to be like indoctrinated like this. It's insane. If her hips don't lie, the flame is carried. Oh. Oh man. All right. It's hard to kind of move on from that because that is the funniest fucking thing. It's so America, isn't it? It's like, oh, we don't want your religion in our houses. We don't want your goddamn transgenderism or your gay shit. We'll do our dick sucking on Grindr, but you won't know about it. So fuck you. Tell you what. I'll treat my dick sucking like ordering food from Uber. Okay? You don't tell me what to do. But don't bring that dick into my church. You hear me? You keep that dick out of my church. You don't bring that dick into my church. I don't want to see God. I don't want God to see me sucking dick. The fuck you saying?
To the news hour. A day after two of the deadliest earthquakes in Venezuela's history, the race to save lives is becoming a race against time. Rescue crews are digging through mountains of rubble, searching for survivors believed to be trapped.
Hey, Nadia.
More
welcome.
than 900 people are now confirmed dead and tens of thousands remain missing. As international aid teams rush into the disaster zone, the true scale of this unfolding crisis is only starting to emerge. Our Nick Schifrin starts our coverage tonight.
Today in Venezuela, the destruction is debilitating. Rescue workers drill through the damage to find the living still pinned down 2 days later. But in this tragedy, so many did not survive. The dead now line the road because the hospital morgue is full. The number of missing is overwhelming. Family members write the name of loved ones on a hospital door. And the missing are also listed online. This website includes more than 50,000 names. 83-year-old Ivan Martinez.
Yeah, Chrome Viper. There are 51,000 people. 51,000 people. More than 50,000 people still missing as well. 1,000 people, close to 1,000 people confirmed dead, and 50,000 people still missing. Over 50,000.
Siblings Crisander, Elvismar, and Antonella. Jaelis and her two children, Jorgelis and her son, Jadiel. The grief and desperation feels insurmountable. Nazarieth Jimenez's brother and his entire family are somewhere under their now pancaked home.
My brother, my sister-in-law, my niece, my nephew, and friends are in there. I got here yesterday at 4 in the afternoon and nothing has happened. They haven't cleared anything. Where is the help? I don't see it.
Others have lost everything. Omar Reyes walks through the devastation and calls out for his missing wife and children. There is no response. And as he walks on the rubble in his sandals, there is no home left either.
More than 20 of my relatives have died. I've been left practically alone in this world. I am alone.
It is Venezuela's worst natural disaster in more than a century. Twin 7.2 and 7.5 earthquakes that crumbled buildings. The scenes from the capital Caracas, apocalyptic. And the most damage to La Guaira, north of Caracas. Entire blocks look like they've been blown apart. Entire buildings collapsed, the state now placed under military control. The damage appears worst closest to the coast. It looks like the city's been bombed, buildings blown open. The toll is immense. Caracas's hospitals are now overflowing. Many patients are being treated in the courtyard.
I grew up in Mexico alongside the Pacific Ocean, and I grew up with earthquakes, and this was something I have never experienced before. The magnitude, but also the length.
Beatriz Ochoa is the Norwegian Refugee Council's Latin America head of advocacy.
We just went under the frame of a bedroom. It was not stopping. I just thought like, this is it.
Already, before the earthquake, nearly 8 million Venezuelans, or more than 1/4 of the country, depended on humanitarian assistance, including food, water, and health. Now, people are sleeping on the street, either because they're homeless or too scared to sleep inside.
People need a safe place to sleep. People will need clean water. We don't want diseases to be spread. People need, at this moment, hot meals. And of course, children particularly will need to recover and to have a sense of normality.
How much need is there right now in the immediate aftermath of the earthquakes?
There is a lot of need. The country was already struggling. Recovering will be hard. And that's why we need support from all over the world so that people can recover sooner rather than later.
That support is beginning to show up. Search and rescue teams from Spain, as well as the United States and a handful of other countries, arrived today. And the U.S. military is beginning to deliver $150 million worth of humanitarian assistance, overseen by a 2-star Marine general.
We're helping Venezuela. They had a tremendous earthquake. A lot of people killed and right in Caracas. And we have a lot of people over there helping.
State TV showed acting President Delcy Rodriguez handing out local aid. But the needs are great. Many places have received no help, and Venezuelans are overwhelmed by a wave of devastation. From PBS NewsHour, I'm Nick Schifrin.
Support journalism.
Oh my gosh. Hey, Didi. Bonjour. Welcome. We're gonna go into a bit of a clip mode here. I've got a few clips to show you guys, but just before I do that, I mean, like I'm trying to hold everything together with everything that's happening around the world, and I'm in such a weird mental space where I'm scrolling, something funny happens and I laugh, and then I remember that 51,000 people just fucking disappeared in 2 minutes, and hundreds of thousands of people in Gaza are just being starved to death, killed, bombed. Sudan, there is a genocide there, and El Obeid is about to have a massacre there as well. Congo. And while all of this is happening, there's fucking football World Cup happening, cricket happening. It's a weird world. It's so many mixed emotions. It's tough. And there people manage these things in different ways, in their own time, in their own space. Some people will just switch off from it. Some people want to know exactly what's happening, and everyone's different. And I don't think I understand how I deal with it yet, because fuck, if I didn't have this community, I couldn't deal with any of this shit. Because I'm just too invested. I'm too invested. My heart and mind just won't let me stop. And I'm glad, because I think all of us being here together is dealing with it, is trying to keep up with everything, seeing what we can do to help, amplify voices, whatever the case. So look, we're gonna come across a lot of different emotions while we go through all of this stuff. But just note, guys, like, this is not easy for many people. Many people are dealing with this in like so many different ways. And people may be kind of like showing a brave face outside, but there are a lot of people who are hurting right now. And who don't know how to deal with this stuff. So We hope what we do pushes the needle somewhere. It's the only hope we can have. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that all of that is just so you understand that there's a lot more happening under the surface than you may think. Like this, for example. Protests have broken out in Beirut because the Beirut government agreed to. So Beirut right now, people and motorcycle groups have occupied the roads in Beirut in protest of the Lebanese authorities signing an agreement with Israeli enemy that legalized their occupation of South Lebanon and gave legal immunity to Netanyahu regarding his war crimes. Okay, so it looks like Lebanon could devolve into a civil war because of this. And I just want to show you a video from Israel. This is not it. This one. Yeah, this one. Where they're discussing how the civil war could actually be good for Israel.
Alon,
it seems that we are leading the state of Lebanon towards civil war. Maybe it's not so bad. Maybe it's not so bad for us.
שהממשלה הלבנונית תילחם בחיזבאללה.
זו השאיפה מההתחלה. לא בטוח כרגע שבמצבה הנוכחי יש לה את הכוח. אז היום עוד שני איתותים נקרא להם. עוד פעם תקיפה של תשתיות קשרים מעל הליטני.
אלון.
So, yeah, the Lebanese government have signed with Israel, and now there's civil war has been Israel's goal. Yeah. But, you know, this is it. This is what partnering with America is all about. America and Israel is all about. It's they divide and conquer. So here it is. The divisions are starting, and we could see Lebanon devolve into a civil war situation. And that means there's going to be more tensions between Iran and America as well. So I think these situations are far from in a good place right now. I have a feeling things could get out of hand very quickly. And while all of this shit is happening, here's this motherfucking lib, Jon Favreau. This guy is a punk. I hate this dude. Pod Save America is a dog shit show. A liberal fucking cesspool. I hate this dude. His liberal ass takes. Let's listen.
What is the Democratic Party if not its voters? And what we saw yesterday evening were Democrats across the city turning out and voting for a new kind of politics.
A slate of 3 candidates endorsed by Zoran Mamdani won their Democratic primaries in deep blue House districts. In the 7th district, Democratic Socialist Claire Valdez won the open seat over a pretty progressive opponent endorsed by the retiring Democratic member of Congress. In the 10th district, Progressive City Comptroller Brad Lander defeated incumbent Dan Goldman in a race that was largely about Israel. Both men are Jewish. Lander ran as a self-proclaimed liberal Zionist, but hit Goldman on voting against legislation to block military aid to Israel and taking money from pro-Israel lobbying groups. And then the biggest upset of the night, 4-term Representative Adriano Espaillat, head of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus and the first undocumented immigrant to serve in Congress, lost his Harlem Bronx district in an upset to a leftist community organizer named Daria Liza Avila.
You see how he mentioned all of those things? The first undocumented immigrant. They'll tokenize you, and then they'll use you to forward their policies. This is what liberalism is about. This is what fascism is about. This is about tokenizing you to maintain an oppressive status quo. Liberals do this all the fucking time. Look at fucking Kamala Harris. Look at Barack Obama. These are brown faces who tokenize themselves to steer the fucking imperial ship.
Chevalier, a democratic socialist who also believes in abolishing prisons, police, and all deportations. She might be the most left-wing candidate to ever win a Democratic primary in our lifetime. There's been a lot of focus on her old tweets, which she has deleted and mostly apologized for. I'm fine with that. My general position is to give people a chance who want to take back something they said or posted. Certainly would love to take back things that I've posted. Here's where I have a problem. She has not apologized for attending an anti-Israel rally on October 8th, 2023, a rally that was condemned by Zoran Mamdani, AOC, and Brad Lander. The other problem I have, she sat for an interview with the New York editorial board last week where she said she's against all deportations. She's for open borders because, quote, bordering is a very modern construct, actually. She wants to abolish prisons and refused to say, when asked, she got 4 different chances on this, refused to say that a convicted murderer should be sentenced to any jail time at all. Maybe she turns over a new leaf in Congress and like her voting record doesn't match some of these more extreme positions. I hope so.
I look at this motherfucker occupying stolen land and telling people their borders are good. What a shitty white supremacist take. People like this upset me so much, bro. This white supremacist piece of shit should just shut his show down and shut the fuck up. Because October the 8th, this motherfucker acts like everything that's happening to the Palestinians started on October the 7th or something. Palestinians have been oppressed for fucking 77 years, almost 80 years since the Nakba, and 50 years before that. It's liberals like this who fuck up the world. These people are not on our side.
But I think the reason I bring this up is because when Democrats get questions about this, I think the answer is...
By the way, immigration is reparations. Shut the fuck up, Jon Favreau. You have no fucking idea what you're talking about, you white supremacist.
Easy and important to give, which is that she currently holds a range of views that go from moronic to abhorrent. And not only are those views not aligned with most Democrats in the country, nearly all Democrats in the country, actually most elected Democratic socialists, but like, I don't even think they align with like a lot of the people who probably voted for her. So like, I think people should you just got to say that.
This purity politic motherfucker was in Obama's administration while he was mass murdering Syrians with drones and fucking up Libya. Yeah, shut the fuck up, John. Stay in your fucking liberal lane, you piece of shit. Hey, Hussein, welcome. Jon Favreau, former Obama speechwriter and co-host of Pod Save America, said he has a problem with Democratic congressional nominee Daria Liza Avila Chevalier because she has not apologized for attending an anti-Israel rally on October the 8th. By the time Avila Chevalier attended the October 8th rally, over 413 Palestinians had been killed in Gaza. Israeli military had struck 426 sites across the Strip, according to official Israeli figures, and more than 2,200 Palestinians had already been wounded. Favreau went on to characterize Avila Chevalier's views as ranging from moronic to abhorrent.
1 month before everything happened and this madness started, I bought my new house by the sea. That's the best thing you will ever had in Gaza, to have that view of the sea. And then, suddenly, 32 years of building and finding a path to succeed and establish a life just disappeared. At 6:30 in the morning, my wife woke me up that something's happening, there is huge bombs, and I was like, no, maybe it's a storm. I read in the news that there is a change of the weather. That's the first thing came to my head, or at least what I wanted to convince myself with, because I didn't want war. I ran into the window and I saw that Audi white car with the yellow plate. This is an Israeli car that I see in front of my house. And I remember seeing 2 people were pulled out of the car. 2 people I don't know in a really bad situation being pulled out, and they ran with them into my building. So I went directly to my phone, checked the news, and this is the first thing I saw. Not even my bad nightmares, man, that I imagined this would happen. Not even in a nightmare, man. At that moment, I felt that this is going to be bad for us and for them. We all know that's going to be bad. But not that bad.
It's an entire nation that is responsible. And we will fight until we break their backbone.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like, people like Jon Favreau are the reason why Americans, why white America decides that fascism is needed. People like Jon Favreau are the fucking problem. The dog shit show that Pod Save America is. Fuck that guy. Okay? Fuck that guy. He is a tool of American imperialism and white supremacy. That's who this motherfucker is. And you know what he'll say? He'll say, oh, I was in the administration of the first black president. You think Barack Obama wasn't tokenized to lead American imperialism, you idiot? White supremacy is a problem. People like Jon Favreau amplify it. Fuck Jon Favreau. By the way, this is a video from October the 7th, 2023, early morning. Israel's police commander strike Gaza, break it all apart, along with soldiers who got abducted. This is what they said.
הייתי עכשיו מפציץ את כל קו הרצועה עם ארטילריה, דופק להם מכה על מנת שיהיה להם בעיה. ממש להם על זה. כתבתי את זה לאבי. הם לא מעלים מזכרים, את רוצה שנראה? לא, על עזה. פרק את הכל. עם החיילים שחטפו להם.
אלו הרגעים הראשונים בחמ"ל המשטרה.
איפה? באיזה יישוב?
עוד לפני שהשר הממונה יגיע. בטרם יוחלט מה לשידור ומה לצנזור.
רגע, אתה מצלם שם? אני נותן לך אישור, אתה צלם את זה. תוציא את זה בבקשה.
הייתי עכשיו מפציץ את כל קו הרצועה עם ארטילריה, דופק להם מכה על מנת שיהיה להם...
Yeah, it'll all start coming out. It'll all start coming out. And people like Jon Favreau will, who manufactured consent for genocide as it was happening, they'll all come out and they will all fucking apologize for what they did. I despise people like Jon Favreau, bro. Oh my gosh. These white supremacists cosplaying fucking like, you know, inclusive bullshit fucking centrist politics. But Jon Favreau is a piece of shit white supremacist. Fuck that guy. After all of these days of watching a live stream genocide, he's still having a go at fucking Daria Lisa? For what? A live stream genocide. The bitch hasn't called it a genocide yet. Walaikum assalam, 7 all of the pain, the suffering, the deaths, the killing, the mass murder, the genocide is all coming back to the West. It is going to be a haunting moment for America in particular, because this destabilization will destabilize America. No fucking doubt. America keeps doing this shit with its little attack dog, and what? The world's going to get destabilized, guys. We're going to be in constant war, constant bombing, constant killing, and Jon Favreau is having a go at fucking Daria Lisa? Piece of shit. These people are so crooked, bro. So crooked. So crooked.
Society. And today, I was just looking at some polling research today, 67% of Americans say that they are more afraid of running out of food than death. And that we've had a 16% increase since President Trump has been in office. My point is this. If you don't want people to be curious about socialism, capitalism has to work a lot better. It's really
I don't think anyone's gonna. I don't think President Trump would disagree with what you just said.
Well, guess what? Today, President Trump was out here talking about America will never be a socialist country. America will never be a communist country. When he just asked for $11 billion in subsidies for farmers because capitalism is killing American agriculture. His capitalistic war in the Mideast is not allowing fertilizer to get to American agriculture. So it's failing all around. It's killing people, right? And people are afraid and ready to do something else.
Yeah. Well,
society. And today,
what do people think is going to happen? When you keep killing people like this, what do they think is going to happen? You can't just keep murdering people that may have been okay, a while ago when the internet wasn't, everywhere. We're seeing this. Every day we're seeing this. Do these motherfuckers think, do these politicians actually think the world's just going to forget and move on? We're so fucked. Our leaders suck dick. Not like there's anything wrong with sucking dick, okay? If you like sucking dick or like getting your dick sucked, that's up to you. I don't even know what I meant to say anymore.
Is the United States falling out of love with Israel? The idea that the US is a staunch supporter of Israel has been a political truth for decades, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. But recently, you may have heard this from J.D. Vance.
The problem for Israel is not Donald J. Trump. And anybody in Israel who thinks their biggest problem is the President of the United States needs to wake up and smell the reality of the situation that country is in.
Are cracks starting to appear in the relationship? And what could that mean in Israel, particularly in an election year? From the BBC, I'm Tristan Redmond in London, and this is The Global Story on YouTube. Here on the show, guys, we really wanted to dig into what might be behind this changing relationship between the United States and Israel. And so to do that, we're calling on our very own expert gumshoe reporter in Washington, D.C., Asma Khaled, who knows her way around the city. Later on, we're going to cross to John Donnison, the BBC's John Donnison in Jerusalem. But I'm pleased to say we're going to spend a bit of time with Asma first, who's been doing some reporting on this. And Asma's going to explain to us what's behind all of this. Asma, great to have you on the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me onto The Global Story to talk about this all. It's a storyline, actually, that I've been following over a number of years as a political correspondent. As you know, I used to be here in Washington.
So, Asma, if you'll permit me, I mean, it's kind of political orthodoxy that the United States supports Israel. This has been the case for sort of forever. How have we arrived at a point where that might be changing?
Well, you're correct in saying that it's certainly been conventional wisdom here in Washington, D.C. U.S. foreign policy supports Israel. That has been the case. You can go back to the 1960s, 1970s. This was bipartisan approval across Republicans and Democrats and lawmakers. And Tristan, recently it's become clear to me that the center of gravity appears to be shifting, particularly among Democrats. And I will say, look, this has been a slow evolution in some regards, and we'll get to that in a moment. But the moment this really became clear to me was when I began to see comment after comment from what I would describe as 2028 Democratic presidential hopefuls. They haven't all announced officially that they're running. But take someone like Rahm Emanuel, former mayor of Chicago. He was the chief of staff under President Barack Obama. And, during the Obama administration, he worked with him. They directed money toward Israel's Iron Dome defense system. And recently, I heard him singing a very different tune when it came to taxpayer financial assistance for Israel.
Israel's in a different place today. And what I said was, and I believe, taxpayer support for purchasing weapons is over. You will be able to purchase weapons just like any other ally with any other restrictions. That's what Germany, Japan, UK, you'll have it just like that.
And Rahm Emanuel is not the only one. We've seen Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, be asked about this issue. The former transportation secretary, Pete Buttigieg. Increasingly, as Democrats are eyeing the White House, it appears that support for Israel is a sort of litmus test. And I cannot overstate how fundamentally different this is in Democratic Party politics. I remember being in these cavernous halls covering the Democratic debates in 2020, and you heard someone like Bernie Sanders, who was running at the time, and many folks in the chattering political class thought of Bernie as a fringe lefty candidate, someone who wasn't, in their view, going to become the nominee. Bernie Sanders spoke about conditioning aid to Israel.
So I would use the leverage. $3.8 billion is a lot of money, and we cannot give it carte blanche to the Israeli government, or for that matter, to any government at all. We have a right to demand respect for human rights and democracy.
I remember there was this debate in Atlanta in 2019 where he spoke about Israel.
It is no longer good enough for us simply to be pro-Israel. I am pro-Israel. But we must treat the Palestinian people as well with the respect and dignity that they deserve.
Said the U.S. ought to rethink its allies, rethink its alliances. I mean, these comments were very novel to be hearing in public amongst Democrats running to be president of the United States.
Was that controversial at the time when he said that, Asma?
When he spoke about conditioning aid to Israel, I recall that later Joe Biden, who was also running and obviously became then the president of the United States, was asked about those comments and said it would be absolutely outrageous to withdraw aid from Israel on the condition that they change a specific policy. So, no, this was not the norm This was not the conventional attitude in the Democratic Party. If we fast forward to where we are today, when we look at candidates possibly eyeing the presidency in 2028, at least on the Democratic side, I am hearing things.
If Bernie would have won, Israel would have been a genocidal democracy. Bernie wouldn't have done shit if he'd won, especially with Israel. He wouldn't have done anything. He would have towed the fucking line. What October the 7th exposed was the fact that Bernie doesn't actually speak about the Palestinian suffering in an honest way. He's very disingenuous about it. Bernie, didn't call it a genocide for 2 years. Bernie, even now, he's like, would you agree with a one-state solution with equal rights for everybody between the river and the sea? He goes, no, I defend Israel's right to exist. Like, when you agree with Israel's right to exist as an apartheid genocidal state that it is, and you do it under the guise of, Netanyahu's government is the problem, you are not being honest. You're not being real. You're being disingenuous, and you are supporting a fascist regime. If he can talk in a leftist way in America and support a fascist regime in Israel, that doesn't make him a leftist.
In public that I have never heard in previous election cycles. But I would say, Tristan, it's not just politics, even when it comes to policy. I mentioned conditioning aid to Israel. It was thought to be an out-of-the-box idea, let's say on the Democratic side, 4 years ago. In April of this year, you saw a record 40 Democratic senators vote to ban arms sales to Israel. And that caught my attention. Frankly, it caught a lot of reporters' attention because you had not seen a vote like that take place on Capitol Hill before.
Okay, so things are shifting now. But back in the day, Democrats and Republicans generally didn't agree on very much, but they did agree on support for Israel. But why was that an exception, that there was this bipartisan support?
Crow Viper. Socialism with nationalism. Some kind of national socialism, if you will. Exactly, man. These people have been so exposed to their inhumanity. These people have been so exposed to, they're so inconsistent when it comes to human rights. It's glaringly obvious that these people don't give a fuck about the lives of Palestinian people. They don't care. Bernie doesn't give a shit about Palestinian rights. He doesn't care. He just wants Netanyahu out of the way so he can move on to a different subject. I hate people like that. I think Bernie is the worst kind of politician. He is the controlled opposition that the Democrats have always needed in order to stop real leftist movements in America. He is that guy. Bernie's that guy. AOC is becoming that woman.
I think it goes back to many, many decades. If you go back to the 1960s and 70s, in the minds of many Americans, Israel was seen as this tiny nation fighting for its survival. And this was a sentiment that I heard covering, someone like Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. I remember covering Kamala Harris, and she's recounted this story over the years of being a little girl and going around with a box collecting funds.
The worst? Really? Let me just play this so you guys understand why I feel this way. Okay? If you don't agree with me, then maybe you'll agree with this man.
There are many whites who are trying to solve the problem, but you never see them going under the label of liberals. That white person that you see calling himself a liberal is the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere. He's the most deceitful. He's like a fox, and a fox is always more dangerous in the forest than the wolf. You can see the wolf coming. You know what he's up to, but the fox will fool you. He comes at you with his mouth shaped in such a way that even though you see his teeth, you think he's smiling, and you take him for a friend.
Bernie's a fucking fox.
To plant trees in Israel. I mean, and it's a story she shared, Tristan, over and over again over the years to show her deep-rooted support for Israel. And that was commonplace in Democratic Party politics. And so that was the norm for decades. There was bipartisan consensus for this unwavering support of Israel over the years, particularly from lawmakers.
When did you start to see cracks in that support for Israel? Was it as simple as when the Gaza war started, or was it more complex than that?
I actually did a story looking at this very issue back in 2021 when I was at NPR. So it has been an evolution over the years. But in reporting out this story for our podcast, I called up a couple of pollsters because I wanted to actually understand when did they begin to see the shifts in American public opinion. And the first major pivot point that one pollster pointed me toward was the George W. Bush administration and the years after September 11th. George W. Bush was a born-again Christian. And with this election, I was told that you saw a greater number of evangelicals voting Republican and supporting the Republican Party. And to be clear, this is something we have seen over the years. But the reason this is interesting is that evangelicals have been strong, consistent.
Did Bernie back Kamala? Did Bernie back Kamala? Did he endorse her? Did Bernie endorse Kamala? In that answer, you will find who Bernie really is. When you don't give a fuck about genocide, and you can back the candidate who's committing a genocide, they're not a good person.
Staunch supporters of Israel, and in recent years, over the last several decades, you've seen more of them consistently vote with the Republican Party, which means you don't see as many Democratic evangelical voters.
His movement? You think Bernie's movement is bringing this left party on? Are you fucking serious? Bernie, that decrepit fucking molting human being, is bringing this fucking movement on? No, bro. It's young people. DSA, Bernie is a piece of shit. Zoran Mamdani is the brown face you're talking about, not that decrepit fucking Israeli fascist loving piece of shit. You forgot. It wasn't Bernie. Bernie's a piece of shit. Zoran made it happen for the DSA.
And that was one sort of big initial shift where if you don't see as many evangelicals in the Democratic Party, you're losing a chunk of the base Sarah, that might be traditional Israel supporters.
Yes. Okay. So what happens next then?
So then let's fast forward to the days of the Obama administration. And
Zoran has to shout out Bernie. Zoran has to shout out Bernie. Bernie's hanging on to fucking dear life of his political career, just like he's hanging on to his dear life. He's fucking 90 years old.
And President Barack Obama, quite bluntly, did not have a smooth relationship with the Israeli prime minister, who was at the time also Benjamin Netanyahu. Netanyahu was vocally opposed to what I would describe as Obama's signature.
Anyone who can say I endorse Kamala Harris without understanding that she committed genocide is fucking bullshit. You know who didn't endorse Kamala Harris?
Foreign policy idea. That was the Iran nuclear deal. And isn't it so strange how everything in the past seems to be now recurring in our current moment of politics? But the reason this is particularly significant, pollsters told me, is that there was a moment in 2015 when Netanyahu came at the invitation of some Republicans in Congress and addressed a joint session of Congress, which is a big deal for a foreign leader to come and address lawmakers.
This was a direct intervention by Mr. Netanyahu in American politics.
The Prime Minister of Israel, His Excellency Benjamin Netanyahu.
The introduction was from the Republican Speaker John Boehner, who invited Israel's Prime Minister without telling President Obama first.
The Obama administration was really miffed by this. They saw it as a move to undercut his authority, and in particular because Netanyahu came and he blasted the Iran nuclear deal. He did not want this to go through, and that really annoyed, a number of Democrats. I think over 50 Democrats boycotted the speech altogether.
Guys, if you're still in America going, the Democratic Party can be rehabilitated, you're part of the laughing stock. Hey, criminal crossovers, welcome. Like all these heads, like Bernie Sanders, AOC, I think they've all thoroughly revealed who they really are. But, there are people going to be towing the line still, going Bernie this, AOC that.
Together and didn't show up. And what I heard was that was a major point of division. Because what you began to see was some people viewing Netanyahu's decision as a particularly partisan issue. It was an involvement in U.S. domestic politics. And so you saw some Republicans really, really supporting Netanyahu. In fact, one pollster told me that he did a poll at the time in which
I think Hassan did more for Mamdani than Bernie did. I think Hassan did more for Bernie than anyone did for Bernie. in the latest elections. Fuck, man. Bernie Sanders, the amount of times he sat on news outlets asking if, like, in news outlets, Jasmine Crockett. Fuck Jasmine Crockett, bro. What the? Gavin Newsom? All pro-Israel shills. If Bernie and AOC is the devil, I think anyone who does not acknowledge that the state of Israel, as it currently is, cannot exist, and, have endorsed a person committing genocide, it's stupidity. It's stupidity that people are still like AOC and Bernie are these great human beings. Bro, I saw AOC in the DNC lie through her teeth about Kamala Harris working tirelessly for a ceasefire in Gaza. Don't fucking tell me about their character. They are evil as fuck, in my mind. How can you stand on stage and talk about a fucking genocide like that?
Found that Netanyahu was as popular among Republicans as Ronald Reagan, which is, for some context, Ronald Reagan has always been an enormously popular Republican president. Democrats, their views towards Israel began to decline.
Yeah, essentially the sequence of events was Obama and Netanyahu had a tense relationship. That led to Netanyahu coming to Washington, addressing Congress without the say.
If you, Lebingus, are forgiving AOC and Bernie Sanders for their behavior during a genocide, you will forgive them for anything. You will forgive them for anything. And that isn't healthy. That isn't healthy to just let go that they behaved like absolute assholes during a genocide.
Of the White House, and that essentially being seen as a thumbing of the nose to the Democratic side of Congress, and therefore creating the beginnings of a kind of a rift in a party political sense. Is that right?
Yeah, and it deteriorated, and it has been deteriorating since then. I mentioned...
It's worse than that, Dave. It's not about them being bought and paid for by AIPAC. They're being bought and paid for by American imperialism. Their mind is indoctrinated. Do you think AOC, if she becomes the president, is going to abolish all of these different things that leftists want to do? She won't do shit. She'll toe the line. She even spoke about defensive and offensive weapons for Israel. AOC was like, oh yeah, we should definitely stop offensive weapons for Israel, but we shouldn't stop defensive weapons. Fuck that shit, bro. I've heard this stuff too many fucking times. I've seen and heard this stuff too many fucking times over the last 3 years not to understand who these people are.
I did a story about the relationship and attitudes towards Israel in U.S. public opinion in 2021. And at that point, looking at how the violence in Gaza, because there was also violence in Gaza around that time point, was marking a shift in the American political debate around Israel.
So it's in that context then that October 7th happens and then the Gaza intervention. I mean, it's actually, in some ways, though, it's counterintuitive, isn't it?
Of course you would take that as a win, Excalibur. Of course you would. Because that's your country. It makes you make evil choices. But it doesn't stop it from being an evil choice. You are just happy because it in your mind, it's not more evil than the other side. Okay? So, yeah. I mean, you keep making choices like that, and then you keep saying, oh, it's not my fault, it's the government's fault. You can see why whenever I speak to Americans who say that, I always say, shut the fuck up, it's your fault. I hope you understand. Like, this is why Americans... Army of Mahdi, thank you for the follow. This is why Americans can't sit there and go, oh, it's not me, it's my government, and then go, oh, actually, I'd be happy if AOC was in the fucking government, you know? Like, the last 3 years matters. What's happened matters. A live stream genocide. If people didn't behave well when people were being exterminated, they will not behave well when the next time this happens. Which in America is like every year.
Because October 7th was a hugely traumatic moment for Israel, and people in the United States who had been longtime supporters of Israel rallied around Israel in support, didn't they? But did that sentiment not last?
By the way, if you look at Zoran Mamdani's endorsement of Brad Lander, that was a fuck up too. Brad Lander was a huge fuck up because now Brad Lander has agreed to endorse Hakeem Jeffries. Brad Lander was a massive W for pro-Israeli forces because he's going to endorse Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries is a massive pro-Israel guy. Massive mistake by Mamdani. He did it because he felt like he had to, and now he's going to take it back.
What I can
Well,
say...
he's not going to take it back because he can't.
Tristan, is that as the war continued in Gaza and as the death toll in Gaza grew, we saw public opinion amongst Americans move away, it appears, from Israel. And this is not just one.
Yeah, but Dingafer, you got to understand your government's track record of labeling and prescribing organizations and individuals as terrorists has been a very self-ingratiating sort of thing. They, for example, yeah, okay, if you're going to label Hamas terrorists, why have they not labeled? Okay, look, they're not going to label the IDF terrorists. Of course they're not, because the IDF is basically America. The IDF is basically America. So why would they label themselves terrorists? Let me just put this to you. Why haven't they prescribed the RSF in Sudan as terrorists? Why? I'll explain why. It's because America is selling weapons to the UAE, and the UAE is sending weapons to the fucking to RSF, and American interests are being protected by the RSF. RSF has committed war crime after war crime, genocide after genocide. They're about to commit a genocide in El Obeid. Why has the American government not prescribed at least the RSF? So why the fuck does America prescribing anybody matter? It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
one poll. You can look at survey after survey from
Hey, Shanna, welcome.
reputable polling outfits that have been tracking this attitude over time. So they have some metric of comparison. A place like, say, the Chicago Council on Global Affairs or Gallup or the Pew Research Center. And to give you a sense of the scope of what we've begun to see, a Pew poll from March...
Consistency matters. Prescribe Hamas a terrorist organization, but then you have to prescribe the IDF as a terrorist organization in that view. You have to prescribe the RSF. You have to prescribe so many other groups that are supposedly allies. Okay? This selective nature of American American morality is what makes America so evil. It is using its military, its financial institutions as leverage over everybody else. It can do anything to anybody. And that is not a world we should be okay living in. That is not a world that we should be okay to continue to maintain. That's a world we need to change. That's a world we need to make more equitable for all. Because America prescribing someone a terrorist, they may well be right, but then not putting everyone else through the same filter is wrong.
Of this year found that 6 in 10 Americans have a very or somewhat unfavorable view of Israel. That was up 7 percentage points since last year and nearly 20 points since 2022. So a real dramatic difference over the last couple of years, it appears.
And do we have any sense from those numbers, the division between Republicans and Democrats in that level of support, in that decline of support for Israel?
There's definitely a partisan divide.
This was never going to be easy. Oh, yeah. Imagine saying that about the fucking Holocaust, bro. Imagine saying that about the Holocaust. Oh, you know what? I'm going to vote for this candidate who endorsed the Holocaust because it's not easy to change, guys. Like, you're doing the exact same. The only reason you don't give a fuck is because it's brown people getting mass murdered, not white people.
If you look at, this Pew poll that I cite or other polls as well that have looked at Democratic and Republican attitudes, you'll see that more voters who identify as Democrat or Democratic leaning do seem to have an unfavorable view of Israel. When you look at Republicans, a majority of Republicans do continue to have a more favorable view.
I think what Excalibur is saying, though, is bullshit. And you, Labingas, how can you say free Palestine and then support someone who endorsed the person committing the genocide in Palestine? Like, have you thought about that? Have you thought about that to yourself? Like, why you would do that? And if you would have done a similar thing when the Holocaust of... What do you have to say for it? Like, you're here supporting a person who endorsed the person committing the genocide. And you're trying to convince me that he's okay.
Of Israel, though I will say some of the polling suggests that unfavorable attitudes in the last year have ticked up amongst Republicans, particularly among younger Republicans.
It would seem that the wavering on Israel is primarily happening on the Democratic side, but there are a lot of prominent Republicans as well, like Tucker Carlson, who are also expressing some wavering support on Israel. So what's going on in the Republican camp?
The most recent war that the United States conducted with Israel and Iran, but also you could argue even last year's 12-day war, have exposed some cracks in the traditional unquestioning support for Israel that we had amongst Republicans. Particularly, it appears amongst some younger Republicans, but you also...
Emirates supplied RSF. Emirates got hit by Iran a bunch. I think justice was served. What the fuck are you talking about, Amanda? They're mass murdering people in Sudan. There are like 24 million Sudanese people who've been displaced. What on earth are you talking about? What justice? Are you saying that justice was served because Iran bombed the UAE? Yeah, if I was you, Labingus, I would think about what it means to say that you think Bernie Sanders is a good man. You need to reflect on that one. And I think people who say AOC is great, people who say that AOC is great need to reflect on her behavior during the genocide, because she endorsed Kamala Harris as well. Like, you wouldn't be saying this if someone, in 1932 endorsed fucking Hermann Goering.
So you mentioned popular podcasting personalities like Tucker Carlson or Megyn Kelly. We've seen also a couple of Republican lawmakers be outspoken about this as well. I think this, Tristan, seems to tie back more to their hesitancy about U.S. intervention in foreign wars. We know that there is a part of the Republican base that is extremely skeptical of U.S. intervention abroad, and they feel the United States, in their view, was...
We have to demand on this one subject of genocide, we have to, on this one subject of genocide, because it applies to every human being, we have to apply a simple filter. First step, do you believe it's a genocide? 99% of the people you ask this question to, or not 99, I mean, let's say 85, will say, no, it's not a genocide. Cut them out completely. And then next, does Israel have the right to exist? As it currently does. The snapback of an entire democratic institution that is controlled opposition is about to come down on every single candidate that dares to grab a position left of Mamdani. People need to be shown that moving this way is safe. The attitude of genocide is radically different even a year ago from now. Guys, how people behaved during the mass extermination of another people should be central to how you filter out candidates. Has to be. If you can't do that, then I don't think you understood the last 3 years.
Dragged into this recent war with Iran, and that they don't think that that was to the benefit of the United States. I will say, I think the cracks right now that we're seeing in the Republican Party, well, maybe small, and yes, there is still substantial evangelical support amongst Republicans for Israel and amongst other Republicans as well. These cracks do appear to be real because, look, politicians, they are political operatives, and this is all happening in the context of an upcoming midterm election cycle here in the United States. And so they've made the calculation that it's okay to be critical of Israel in public to some degree, as we've heard from President Trump and J.D. Vance recently.
Even Zoran Mamdani was like, does Israel have a right to exist? I don't believe he said, I don't believe any country has the right to exist as an apartheid state that's committing a genocide. And he won. And he won for saying that. After saying that. How hard is it to say that? Bernie Sanders. I'm sorry, man. Bernie Sanders is controlled opposition. AOC. What I will never forget how she reacted in that DNC. I'll never forget it.
Recently. But still, the majority opinion, as we've seen in public opinion surveys, but also the majority opinion amongst Republicans on Capitol Hill is to continue the traditional support we have seen from the United States towards Israel.
Okay, well, I mean, that's the view from DC. But as you all know, friends, we do America and the world. So
we do indeed.
We have called up the BBC's John.
It's hardly the boomers, though, Libingus. The problem is, like, it's hardly about boomerism or whatever. I think this is a clear line. There are people of all ages who think what Israel is doing is justified, and the state of Israel doing what it's doing is justified. The more you normalize shit like that, the worse it's going to get. You're either for it or against it. Are you for or against genocide? You know, you got to like ask yourself these questions. If you're ready to compromise on genocide with a politician who behaved like an absolute asshole during a genocide, then you'll compromise on anything. Just like those libs who were shouting down people saying, don't vote for Kamala Harris.
Donnison, correspondent in Jerusalem, to find out how all of this looks from Israel.
My name's John Donnison. I'm a correspondent based in Jerusalem at the moment. I used to be based here permanently for 4 years, about a decade or so ago, and I've been coming back to Jerusalem periodically since the war in Gaza.
Excalibur, you care way too much about Democrat and Republican at this point. You're wedded to blue, and that will be the downfall of America in the long term. But in the short term, it means more mass murder. So you're wedded to blue. That's your problem. You're too institutionalized. You're too indoctrinated into believing that voting blue or voting red is going to change anything.
Started.
So, John, presumably you've seen how public opinion may or may not have shifted in Israel over the years. And the question on my mind is whether Israelis are aware that attitudes about Israel in the United States, presumably their closest ally, have soured so much in the last couple of years.
I think they are aware because I think the Israeli media scrutinizes the relationship with the United States, which, as you say, is their most important ally, very, very closely. So the polls that you will have seen in the US have also been reported here. So they're aware of that. And certainly in recent weeks, and there's been a lot of coverage about how
and colonial Epstein
Israel's
regime,
relationship with America is under strain.
John, what do attitudes look like in Israel towards the United States at this moment? I mean, I used to cover the White House.
You were more concerned with the potential ICE troops stationed in international airports, but hey, sure. Are you serious? You care about ICE? Then if you want to get rid of ICE, you got to get rid of the apartheid that's happening to the Palestinians. Until then, you live in a police state. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Do you think ICE is separate to what's happening to the Palestinians?
White House, and the only time I've been to Israel has been on one of these like presidential junkets, and so there's lots of signage up that shows how close the U.S. and Israel are as allies. I don't know that signage is regularly shown around town, but there was a sense of warmth. What are you seeing now?
Well, look, I don't want to overplay this because I do think, President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, they are still pretty strong allies. Israel remains America's most important ally in the Middle East, a huge amount of money, a huge amount of weapons.
Americans haven't cared about the rest of the world at all. Okay, as long as the gas price in America has been $2 a gallon, it's been all fucking smooth fucking sailing. $2 a gallon. We're good, guys. Go mass murder that family or go mass murder those people in the Middle East. We don't give a shit. And now that ICE is here, you want to vote against ICE? And you think you can get rid of ICE by voting Democrat? Are you stupid? Like, seriously, tell me, Excalibur, are you stupid enough to think that you can get rid of ICE by voting Democrat?
Goes from the United States to Israel. But when you look at some of the polling just in the last few weeks, and I know we shouldn't rely too much on an individual poll, but there was one on Channel 12 television here this week saying 71% of Israelis don't trust President Trump to look out for them in the Iran deal, and just 11% believe that Israel won that war. And those figures, that 71% figure, was down 10% apparently on the same question when it was asked just a week before. The Iran conflict has really...
What has incrementalism led us to, bro? Another extermination campaign. That's what incrementalism has done. You're not an incrementalist. You are about maintaining status quo. That's not being an incrementalist. That's white supremacy.
Put a lot of political pressure on Prime Minister Netanyahu. He has elections coming up in a few months' time. He's doing badly in the polls. And, you know, people are saying, look, you got us into this war, and the war aims that you set out to achieve haven't been achieved. And at the same time, you've put a strain on this relationship with the United States, which is so important for Israel.
John, we have to agree with you. We have to be...
Yeah, incremental about mass murder of brown babies by the USA. You remember when they said that voting for Obama would make things better in the Middle East? And it didn't? And then they said voting for Joe Biden would make things better than what was under Donald Trump. And then it made things worse. Now they're going to vote for some other idiot saying that it's going to get better and it's going to make things even more worse. America, bro, incrementalist. Incrementally moving the world towards a fucking mass murder zone. America is basically the zone of interest. The rest of the world has to suffer because of American fucking delusion.
Careful about a poll taken in isolation, but there is a little bit more urgency around polling numbers in an election year. It's an election year in the United States with the midterms, but also in Israel, there's a general election later this year. How might the mood music, the evolving sentiment around Israel in the United States influence that election in Israel?
It's interesting because in the past, Prime Minister Netanyahu has used his close relationship with President Trump as an electoral asset, saying, you know, only he has this strong relationship with the most powerful man in the world. This time, though, I think there's going to be a bit of a shift. We're hearing it reported here that his campaign team are stepping back from that approach, and they're going to say, look, Prime Minister Netanyahu is the only potential prime minister strong enough to stand up to President Trump. So that's a subtle but quite important shift. So in the past, when we've had elections, we've seen, you know, big posters of Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump up on billboards around Israel.
Disastrous for who? Among llamas. Disastrous for who? How after watching Biden and Kamala kill the bulk of the Palestinians, and then now you're watching this, which is a disaster still. How can you say Trump has been worse for, say, Palestinians than Joe Biden? I think Palestinians would say Joe Biden was far worse. Because he killed the most of them. When Joe Biden left office, like 90% of Gaza was already rubble.
Well, I'm not sure we're going to see that this time.
Can you
What would they say? You tell me what they would say. What would they say?
extrapolate a little bit on how the deal we've seen announced here by the United States and Iran to try to end the war has complicated that electoral dynamic for Netanyahu?
Well,
Trump wants... Do you think if there was a Democratic person elected, that they would want to do anything other than continue to do what America's been doing to the Palestinians? Bro, I think Israel would be strengthened because the Democrats would double down on supporting Israel. They would do it better than Donald Trump.
It's complicated it because there's no doubt.
No, bro. America is never going to help anybody. America is never, ever going to help any fucking body. You have deluded yourself into thinking the Democrats good, Republicans better. Republicans have deluded themselves to think Republicans are good, Republicans are bad, Democrats are bad, Republicans are better. Both work for American imperialism. Both. You're imperialists. You are in the imperial core, and you're trying to convince the world. You're trying to convince the world that you're going to vote your way out of it. The whole world is watching you and laughing at you while being bombed.
Israel
with your bombs.
Israel was told about this deal. They were not consulted. You know, President Trump clearly really wanted this deal to go ahead. Prime Minister Netanyahu and plenty of Israelis don't think there should have been a ceasefire yet with Iran, and they certainly don't think there should have been a ceasefire in Lebanon. Now, of course, the Iranians have insisted that Lebanon, where Israel has been clashing with Hezbollah, an Iranian-backed group, Israel has occupied a large...
I'm surprised that no one has said you're racist against America today.
chunk of southern Lebanon. The Iranians have insisted that has to be part of any ceasefire deal. And, you know, there was a risk right up until the weekend, really, and frankly, the risk is still there, that the fighting in southern Lebanon could derail the whole Iran deal. Essentially, the Americans over the past week have been saying to the Israelis, look, you need to rein it in southern Lebanon, because they didn't want that to derail the deal. So Prime Minister Netanyahu is in a difficult spot because he doesn't want to upset President Trump any more than he already has.
Is this a bit of growth?
At the same time,
potentially
pulling out those forces from southern Lebanon would be perceived by many here as a sign of weakness, and there's plenty of appetite.
Would it be politically
here.
Unpopular, you're saying, John?
It would be politically unpopular to do that, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a political tightrope he's walking, but at the same time, it looks like...
I don't care about American domestic politics. Unless and until America starts to vote for human rights on their foreign policy, America will continue to bear the problem of having shitty racist domestic politics. If you don't give a fuck about your foreign policy, then whatever happens domestically is your own stupidity.
There's also a security tightrope that he's walking, because on the one hand, he has one security imperative, which is, he says, to protect Israel from a security threat from the north, from Lebanon, from Hezbollah. But then there is also another security imperative, which is to maintain...
What do you mean in reality they don't care? They know that you don't give a fuck about anybody else other than yourself. So they're going to always try and sell you some domestic policy that you like. That's what they rely on. The stupidity and the ignorance of your everyday American. And they keep winning. Because you don't give a fuck. You don't give a fuck other than your own fucking backyard. Nothing.
Good relations with the United States, which is a strong military backer. That's a difficult choice to have to make, isn't it, for Benjamin Netanyahu? What's the main priority there?
Well, I think the main priority is to walk that tightrope and certainly to keep relations good with America at the same time.
And we want them to care about people. That's the problem, though. You've never given a fuck about your government's policy about people living 2,000 kilometers away, hence why, or miles, whatever the fuck you use. But you don't care about that, hence why it's coming home to roost. Imperialism will always come home to roost. Americans didn't give a fuck about American imperialism, and now, because it's coming home, you give a fuck all of a sudden.
I just do not think the Israelis are going to pull out of southern Lebanon at the moment, not just months before an election. So I think those forces will remain there and they will be under pressure not to see the situation there escalate. But at the same time,
No, you don't give a fuck. Say that. You keep blaming it on your politicians, but really you don't vote thinking about foreign policy. You don't give a fuck about those people. Just say that. You care about yourself. You care about how much your gas costs. That's what you care about. Don't fucking sit here and tell me that that you care about those people, but my government isn't letting me care. That's so dumb. I can tell. You don't give a fuck about anybody other than yourself.
While you have Israeli troops occupying Lebanese territory, it's very easy to see
No, you don't.
flare-ups begin happening.
You don't give a shit because you've seen a genocide live streamed to your phone and you're still talking about shitty local politics.
Again, and
you don't give a fuck.
Quickly escalate, and obviously we've got 60 days to negotiate the rest of this Iran deal. That's not a lot of time. I still think there's plenty that could go wrong.
John, beyond the halls of power in Israel, beyond, say, the Netanyahu government, I'm curious how the United States and how President Trump are viewed broadly. We've heard Trump and his team consistently say that they have done more for Israel than anybody else would have. You've heard them allude to the fact that in their view...
No. Among llamas, that's who you are. You don't care. You watched a genocide. You don't give a fuck about it. You don't give a fuck about it.
Israel would have been destroyed without their support. And as you said yourself, John, there's a lot that Trump has done over the years in terms of his relationship with Netanyahu, but also
No, but you're trying to convince people that voting for your local politics is going to solve anything. Like, that's what you're trying to do. It's in the chat.
Would say towards the nation of Israel. In his first term, he moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. He recognized the Golan Heights as Israeli territory. He's lifted sanctions on West Bank settlers. And so I am curious, is Donald Trump himself still...
You said we have to think about local politics. You literally said that.
Popular? Do you have a sense of how he's viewed beyond just, let's say, the leadership in Israel?
Yeah, and it's important to say that those polls I mentioned earlier, that 71%, that was didn't trust President Trump to look out for them in the Iran deal. So it's not talking about...
Yeah, because of that, you implied that that basically we can only think about ourselves. You weren't pointing out a fact. You were pointing out the stupidity of your own thinking. You're pointing out what every American often says, which is, I don't have control of anything. That's what Americans constantly say. I don't have control over anything. It's a way for Americans to try and I guess, get rid of their complicity in all of these war crimes that their government keeps committing. It's like, oh, I don't have control, but then I'm going to lecture to people who to vote for. It's like, it's the dumbest shit that Americans do.
About the broader views of President Trump, and I do think generally, you know, that the majority of Israelis regard President Trump as good for Israel. Certainly, they think he's better for Israel than his predecessor, Joe Biden, or before that, Barack Obama.
Yeah, it's someone on
President Trump
TikTok.
is also a polarizing figure in Israel, like he is everywhere around the world.
Is this a particularly
that happened a
perilous
while ago,
moment
baby
for
walk.
Benjamin Netanyahu, John?
Yeah, it is. It is, because the majority view in Israel is that the war in Iran has not worked out as planned, and that is going to be used in the upcoming elections against him. He's facing criticism not just from the opposition, but from members of his own cabinet about how this has been handled. And at the moment, the polls show he's losing support. He would lose an election, I think, if one was held tomorrow. So he's going to have to reverse that. And then at the same time, you know, he's also facing corruption charges in Israel. He's on trial for that at the moment, charges that he denies. So there's a lot at stake for him at the moment.
Well, John, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
That was...
Yeah, you see what this Noor person has said? We owe Germany an apology. That is the exact opposite of what normal human beings should be saying. This is the dumbest fucking stupid shit. These people are racists and they should not be allowed into any group. See, they're just fucking racist assholes. Never ever listen to people like this.
The BBC's John Donnison in Jerusalem, and earlier you heard from our very own Asma Khalid in Washington, D.C. That's it for today's episode. The global story is also an audio.
This is the internet right now, and you cannot fall into the trap of minimizing the Holocaust. You cannot do that. Not now. This is the moment. Never, to be honest. You shouldn't do that at all. You should not minimize the Holocaust. And there are a lot of people creating vacuums for that to happen. And it's fucking stupid. It's stupid that people are falling into these traps. And dipshits like that, whether they're bots or not, will come into a chat and say something like that and wait for people to go, oh yeah, I agree. And then that's the whole thing.
This black and white video shared by the US military shows what it says are strikes on Iranian targets.
Mr. President, you said that Iran violated the ceasefire. Will they face any consequences?
You'll find out. Shortly after this veiled threat, the president abruptly cut off questions reporters ushered out of the Oval Office. The US military later revealing it struck Iranian missile and drone storage locations after a one-way attack drone hit a Singapore-flagged cargo ship exiting the Strait of Hormuz, an attack it blamed on Tehran. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps says its navy has retaliated, striking US military positions in the region and threatening even more aggression. Elsewhere, some signs of progress in ending the 4-month-old conflict, an agreement signed by Israel and Lebanon for a minor withdrawal of Israeli troops from occupied territory.
Israel remains in the security zone in southern Lebanon, and we are maintaining it as long as Hezbollah does not disarm.
Hezbollah supporters have taken to the streets of southern Beirut to protest. The Iranian-backed militant group says it won't cooperate, continuing the pressure on a fragile truce. Matthew Doran, ABC News, Jerusalem.
Oh, this is such a crazy moment. You know, like when you see stuff like this, guys, when you see stuff like this, it's tragedy. It's fucking tragedy. It's every day. It's tragedy. It's tragic because these people are dying. We got anything on Putin? Who gives a shit about Putin? I don't care.
Do you remember back in February when Donald Trump said this?
To the great proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere.
Like, Ukraine literally has the backing of the most powerful countries in the world, being supplied with enough munitions to defend their own territory. Why the fuck would I care? I mean, that is whatever happens. Like, Ukraine will be protected by the most powerful militaries and economies in the world. I don't give a fuck about that, bro. I don't give a shit.
When we are finished, take over your government.
It was his first message announcing the beginning of the war in Iran. Trump boldly told the Iranian people to be ready to overthrow their government.
This will be probably your only chance for generations.
Zelensky is a Zionist, a tool for votes. But Ukraine has the right to defend its borders, right? Like, if we are going to be consistent about international law, Ukraine has the right to protect its borders. It's got a right to defend itself and all of those things. It's just that these fucking people have everything. They have the full backing of the West. Everything. They have everything to defend themselves. So I'm not going to sit here and act, with fake empathy, because mainstream media is humanizing the Ukrainians. Mainstream media is humanizing the Ukrainians. Like, what the fuck is me talking about Ukraine going to add to the conversation? Like, look at Palestinians are getting mass murdered and they're being treated like animals by mainstream media. I don't give a fuck about Ukraine. Honestly, Ukraine gets everything, bro. Ukraine has everything it needs.
Many years you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight.
It was very inspirational rhetoric.
Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not.
My channel is about creating equitable outcomes, contributing towards an equitable world for all. Me talking about Ukraine, it doesn't matter. Everyone and their fucking dog and their fish, pet fish, is talking about Ukraine, and they're humanizing Ukraine. That's not gonna contribute towards equity. Equity is when people are being dehumanized, and the whole weight of mainstream media is against them, and they're getting no help from anybody. That's where I can contribute.
Let it pass.
Now, when was the moment for action exactly? Did we miss it? Were any destinies actually seized? Because now Donald Trump is telling us that the war is over.
On Sunday, we reached an agreement with Iran that achieves everything we set out to accomplish, everything and much more.
Ukrainians are accepted as refugees. They can cross the border. No one's going to do anything about it. They're given humanitarian aid. They're given everything. They're given billions of dollars to defend themselves. What do Palestinians have, bro? Nothing. What do Lebanese people in the south have? Nothing. What do Syrians have? They're just rebuilding now. Iranians are sanctioned into the wazoo. It's like, look at, like, Sudan is being mass murdered with Western bombs. And the DRC is being robbed by imperialist powers. So what am I going to do talking about Ukraine? So Ukraine is Ukraine, bro. They're fine. Yeah, it's a war. It's shit. They're having their territory taken, but they have the backing. They have the backing. They can fight. At least they are given the resources to fight. What do Palestinians have?
Seems that the promise to help the Iranian people overthrow their oppressors has been tossed down the memory hole.
Ending the current conflict, reopening the Strait of Hormuz.
Oh, that's the line.
Reopening the Strait of Hormuz.
Oh, he just said it on live TV.
Down the memory hole.
Ending the current conflict, reopening the Strait of Hormuz, and preventing Iran from ever obtaining a nuclear weapon.
The New Deal Trump is negotiating.
Yeah, Ukraine has had everything, though. Ukraine has had, Ukraine's fighting for their sovereignty. I appreciate that, and I support that fight. I just don't think I need to add any more resources to what Ukraine already has. Ukraine has all the resources it needs. It has the weight of Western media supporting it and humanizing it, and talking about Ukrainian lives like human beings, not animals. So, what am I going to add to that conversation?
Negotiating appears to be essentially the same as the Iran nuclear deal struck by Barack Obama and torn up by Trump in 2018, except it's a bit worse. Well, it's much worse.
Because in reality, it doesn't have all of that. What do you mean Ukraine needs more help? Ukraine has fucking everything that it can have. I don't need to amplify Ukrainian voices because they're being amplified by mainstream media. What do you mean, what is everything? Mainstream media reports on Ukraine with humanity. They have, how many billions of dollars have they had so far? And they continue to get support. Yeah, it's not enough. I understand that. But you're talking about people who have nothing and are being mass murdered and exterminated. Okay, let me ask you something. Do the Ukrainian people have more backing than the Palestinian people? Answer that question. No. Do the Ukrainian people have more resources and backing than Palestinian people? Do the Ukrainian people have more backing than Sudanese people? No, just answer the question. Don't scramble all at once. Do the Ukrainian people have more resources than the people in the Democratic Republic of Congo? Okay. Do the Ukrainian people have more resources than the Rohingya in Myanmar? Myanmar. Do the Ukrainian people have more resources than the Bangladeshi people and the Bangladeshi people being expelled from India right now? Do the Ukrainian people have more resources than the Kashmiri people who are now under military blockade, both from Pakistan and India? Do the Ukrainian people have more resources than the people in Tigray or Eritrea? Are the Ukrainian people being systematically starved? What do you mean you don't think it's helpful? Bro, like, this is about using resources to help other people. This is about using resources to help other people. I don't need to use my resources to help the Ukrainian people. I don't need to. They don't need my resources. They already have everything I could give and more.
But regardless of what you think about Trump's deal, I think most people around the world would agree that the war being over is a good thing, even if the deal is embarrassing for one side. Unfortunately, there's a big thorn in Donald Trump's side here, and it starts with B and ends with E.B. Netanyahu.
In all fairness to Bibi Netanyahu,
It's not true.
happens to be...
It's not true. They get humanized. They get everything. If I look at the resources that Ukraine has, across the board, compared to any country in Africa, any country in Asia, any country in Latin America, Bolivia, which is going through a shitload of pain, Venezuela, etc. Are you telling me that Ukraine has less attention and resources than any of these countries? Equity is about fairness. How is me reporting? No, Among Llamas, listen, you're just fucking typing. You're just typing. Shut the fuck up.
A good man gets a little excited sometimes. But he happens to be a very good man.
A condition of the US-Iran peace deal is the end of hostilities in Lebanon. But Iran and the US aren't fighting in Lebanon. Israel and Hezbollah are. And in bad news for Trump and his peace deal, Bibi Netanyahu doesn't want to stop.
We have a little dispute over Lebanon. I say, you can do a little softer touch, Bibi. You don't have to knock down a building every time somebody walks into it that's from Hezbollah.
No matter what Trump says, Bibi doesn't appear to be slowing down.
We established a security zone in Lebanon, and we shall keep it as long as is necessary to protect our people.
The thing is, this isn't the first time Benjamin Netanyahu has dug Israel into southern Lebanon and refused to leave.
We are not going to be deterred, and we're not going to relent.
The last time he did it, it cost him his job. But this time, he's convinced it's going to end differently. In fact, this time he's worried that if he's forced to pull out of Lebanon by Trump's peace deal, that's the thing that will cost him his job. The story of what's really going on in Lebanon is complex. We're going to spend the next couple of weeks looking at it. Firstly, we'll see what happened last time Israel did this, and then we'll look at what's different.
You just took money from Bezos. Welcome to the Noisy Crew.
Tricycle Kid, thank you so much for the Prime sub. Art ones, thank you for the follow. Like, equity is literally about fairness in the world. Western powers have been looting these countries. Western powers have been committing genocides in these countries. The global south is the way it is because of Western powers continually robbing these countries and distributing that wealth within Europe. I don't think talking about European politics when it comes to Ukraine is adding to equitable outcomes in the world. Okay? I don't think it is. There's enough resource there for people to take care of themselves. If they're getting fucked up, that is only because of the crimes committed over 600 years that's coming back home to roost. I care about people who aren't represented, who aren't having their voices amplified. Those are the people I give a fuck about. I care about the global south more than I care about the West, because that's what equitable outcomes are about. It's about fairness. If I was reporting about some dumb shit in the West, I'm reporting what every other media outlet is reporting. I don't give a fuck about Western tears. I don't care about white fragility. I don't want to amplify white fragility. I want to amplify the people who are being impacted by the violence of white fragility.
This time. It's an incredible story. It involves puppet states, exploding pages, spies, and helicopter crashes. And at the end of it, you'll see why this particular conflict is creating such a paradox for Trump and Netanyahu. I'm Matt Bevan, and this is If You're Listening. I've been covering various conflicts in the Middle East on this show for quite a long time. Like, since before my beard went grey. Nearly 3 years ago, for instance, we did an episode about the origin story of Hezbollah, the militia that Israel is fighting in Lebanon. Feel free to go back and watch that episode if you like, but for the purposes of today, I'm going to bring 2023 Brown Beard me in to give you a quick rundown. Right, Brown Beard? Okay. Oh, hang on. Sorry, are you ready now?
Stay hydrated.
Our job is weird. You have no idea, buddy. Now, tell us about Lebanon. It's the most religiously diverse country in the Middle East, by far. More or less evenly balanced between Christians and the two major branches of Islam, Sunni and Shia.
Only 15% are Shiites. And Iran is the only Muslim country led by a Shiite, the Ayatollah Khomeini.
Sunnis and Shiites do not always get along.
Historically, the division between Sunnis and Shiites has led to intense conflict, which has at times erupted in war.
But in Lebanon, the mountains have separated these groups. You have to be a lot angrier to attack someone over a mountain than across a plain. This has maintained a centuries-long balance, but in the 1970s...
By the way, if you wanna understand the media bias against how reporting for Ukraine versus Palestine has been over the last 3 years, read a book called Manufacturing Consent for Genocide, the media's role in manufacturing consent for genocide, okay? It is the most incredible book that goes through every single detail, and you will be able to see just percentage-wise how mainstream media has manufactured consent for genocide. I don't give a fuck about reporting about Ukraine as much as I care about reporting about Gaza, Iran, Lebanon, Syria, Africa, everywhere in Africa, in Latin America. I don't need to add my voice to the Ukrainian story. I don't need to. They have everything. They have every bit of backing they need. They have the ears of white supremacy. Okay? When you have the backing of white supremacy, they have the backing of the most powerful, evil, violent, and well-resourced part of the world. I don't need to add anything to it. No, Among. It's not most needed in the moment. Historical inequities matter as well. 600-year project of white supremacy against the global south. That's what I care about. That's what I stand against. I do not believe that there is such a thing as a class war or the war against the patriarchy without dismantling white supremacy and white privilege. White supremacy and white privilege are the core issues in the world right now. And unless and until we dismantle that, we cannot expect equitable outcomes. So Ukraine belongs to the umbrella of white supremacy now.
Something rapidly changed.
Happy?
Yes, thanks.
A lot of good grabs in this. Yeah, pretty happy with the grabs.
600 years.
I agree. Nice
600
job.
years.
You go get some lunch or something.
Kebab.
Yeah, thanks for that. Still dealing with the ramifications of my 2023 kebab addiction. Anyway, yes, the thing is, the ancient balance of religions in Lebanon was shifting. After wars in the Middle East through the late 60s and early 70s, the arrival of hundreds of thousands of Palestinian refugees upset the balance. Palestinians tend to be Sunnis, and they were moving into an area dominated by Shias.
Nearly 30 years ago, they fled from the state which is now Israel. As refugees, they moved into other Arab countries, determined to win back the land which they believed to be theirs.
See, this is your problem, Among. I always knew this about you. You're a Democrat. You're a Democrat. I bet you voted for Kamala Harris in the last election too. See, you think the problem is Donald Trump, whereas the rest of the world thinks it's American imperialism. You're not helping the cause. You're actually just sucking up oxygen. Stop, please.
After they were repeatedly pushed out of other Arab states, they ended up in the mountains of southern Lebanon.
Thus, the Lebanon became their last refuge.
Their presence in Lebanon led to two overlapping conflicts.
Jimmy, I'll give you the link.
One was a Lebanese civil war.
The war has lasted 12 months. It has ruined a country and destroyed a nation. There is supposed to be a ceasefire in the Lebanon, but it means nothing. There have been 28 ceasefires, and each of them has been followed by even fiercer fighting.
The other conflict was between the Palestinian Liberation Organization, a militia led by Yasser Arafat, and Israel. The PLO were using their newfound stronghold in the south of Lebanon to launch terrorist attacks on towns in the northern Israeli region of Galilee.
A few hours ago, we stood in the shattered classroom where 21 Israeli teenagers were massacred as troops stormed the building trying to save them.
The largest and most vulnerable town in the Galilee region is Kiryat Shimona. It sits at the bottom of a cliff with Lebanon at the top.
Kiryat Shimona is the soft underbelly of Israel.
The people there were constantly under threat of attack from terrorists.
10 meters below ground, the school children...
This is the book that I have. I purchased this book. You should go purchase it too. It's called How to Sell a Genocide, The Media's Complicity in the Destruction of Gaza. This is one book, and another book that I have pre-ordered. So it's called How to Sell a Genocide. You can only get it from this maker, by the way. This one, How to Sell a Genocide, great book. And the other book is Asal Rad's book. This is the one I've pre-ordered. It's called Don't Say Palestine, How the Media Manufactured Consent for Genocide, Asal Rad. Another great book. If you want to understand how the media is complicit, there's comparisons to Ukraine here as well.
of Kiryat Shimona spend one day each week studying in classrooms designed to withstand rocket and shell attacks.
The PLO used this proximity to their advantage.
The PLO's tactic was to break the nerve of Kiryat Shimona and trigger an exodus from Israel's northern settlements.
Suffice to say, Israelis who lived in the Galilee towns like Kiryat Shimona were seriously concerned about their safety.
The town has full-time psychologists helping people to deal with fear.
The government promised that it would fight back.
Israel served notice on the guerrillas that it's prepared to match murder with murder.
But that was a long-term project. In the short term, the best way to protect these citizens was to establish a buffer zone between them and their attackers to make the area less vulnerable. How were they going to do this? Well, the Israeli government figured they had two choices. Option one was to establish a buffer zone within Israel by evacuating everyone from the Galilee region and abandoning Kiryat Shimona. But that was unlikely to be popular with the residents of the area who would need to leave their homes. Option two was to somehow establish a buffer zone inside Lebanon.
When I decided to do this, and when I wrote down that this community was going to be about contributing to making the world a more equitable place, that was at the start of 2024. I wrote that sentence down, and I wrote it down because I was seeing how insanely biased the media was when it came to Ukraine, when it came to Palestine, when it came to reporting about Israel. The humanization and dehumanization of particular populations because of political and, racial affiliations. Just the structure of racism. This is what structural racism is about. I began writing about my own experiences with racism in the corporate world about a year before that on LinkedIn. And when I started seeing what was happening in Palestine, I immediately connected it to my own experience of especially the media's complicity and the way media reports it and the way the structure works against some people and for other people based on, skin and influence. So for me, that is what has driven me and led me. And whenever people challenge that by arguing some terribly uneducated things, especially after, 3 years of learning about the world, people come in here and just say, terribly short-term based things, very short-term outlook type thinking. I always am like having to correct people. It's the most insane thing to say. You should be reporting about Ukraine. There is no fucking way I'm going to spend too many resources reporting about Ukraine. Absolutely not.
North of the border. That would mean that everyone in Kiryat Shimona and the rest of the Galilee region could...
Equity is about undoing the harms of white supremacy in our current world. And white supremacy carries the torch for Ukraine. Let them fucking do it. White supremacy isn't carrying the torch for the global south.
Stay put. But it would mean Israel taking control of a large area of southern Lebanon, which was filled with people who might not like that very much. Doing that with the Israeli military would be very difficult. Convincing the Lebanese military to do it would be impossible.
Welcome.
They were in the midst of a civil war, and anyway, they weren't keen to do Israel any favours. But if you can't do it, and Lebanon won't do it, who else will?
A right-wing Christian militia has carved out a state within a state in southern Lebanon. Known as Free Lebanon, its 100,000 residents live a precarious existence between combatants engaged in a 30-year war of attrition.
In 1979, in the midst of the Lebanese Civil War, a tiny new nation was created, the State of Free Lebanon. It joined a long tradition of countries with names that are, let's say, aspirational at best.
What I've realized is the media has always been like this. The media has been systemically racist for a long time. I think Gaza just revealed it. Gaza just revealed it on a big scale. But now that you pay attention to it, you can see it everywhere. You can see it about the reporting in Venezuela now. We saw the report by CNN, instantly trying to politicize it. But we know now. We know the tactics that media uses to dehumanize and delegitimize governments that they don't like. We know. Western media is so complicit in all of this. People think, okay, media, what can it do? Media is the most potent weapon for imperialist powers. That's why the imperialist powers try to control the narrative as soon as they can. I read Manufacturing Consent, but Noam Chomsky is not looking great right now. I agree.
Your democratic people.
No, it's not to the large degree Ellison family. This is what I mean. This is why you're wasting time, Lama. You're wasting our time here. America's always been like this. This is America. Go read about Operation Condor in Latin America. The weaponization of the media for what do you disagree with me about? That America's a shitty fucking evil place?
People's Republic of Korea and your Free China, which at the time were not democratic or free at all.
Free Lebanon is the name that Christian and right-wing militia have given to the 10 to 20...
No, there's no massive shift. America's always been America. America's always been for America. It's not a massive shift. It's just America looking after America, like always. This is your problem. You think what's happening is new, but what's happening right now to America has happened a number of times before. Because this is what liberalism does. It enables fascism time and time again. No, you don't. You say you agree with me, and then you say it's Donald Trump. Shut the fuck up. Okay. I'm going to mute this fucking person. They are insufferable. Fuck, I hate people like this.
20-kilometre wide corridor that runs along the southern Lebanon border.
The state of Free Lebanon was a very, very strange little entity. It was set up by a Catholic officer who had defected from the Lebanese army, a guy named Saad Haddad.
What we are asking is Lebanon for all the Lebanese, but each one should have the freedom of...
Look at this racist. Are the New Zealand whites not paying your healthcare? And YouTube and Twitch owned by whites. Most amount of people on government help in New Zealand are white people. Are white people, bro. On welfare, you can say, if you understand that. Most amount of people on government handouts are white people in New Zealand.
Of practicing his faith without being persecuted.
Major Haddad had swiped a few tanks before he left the army and said that they now belonged to what he was calling his South Lebanon army. He then used that army to carve out the territory and declared that it was the only truly Lebanese part of Lebanon. Then he declared himself president of the new enclave.
He does have his own administration, his own militia. He's planning a television station and his first airport. And from his radio station here, he can beam his message to all of Lebanon and to most of the rest of the Middle East as well.
Now, this radio station was not at all what you'd expect in this part of the world. It was a mix of Haddad's propaganda and American Christian evangelical music.
WORD and KING, dedicated to bringing a measure of peace to a troubled world. Now back to music here at WORD and KING.
In the morning, I will sing of your love.
It probably won't surprise you to find out that the business of running a micronation, complete with a militia and radio station, isn't cheap. In fact, it's one of the more expensive things that a person can do. Fortunately, though, Haddad had a little bit of help propping the whole thing up.
Haddad's so-called Free Lebanon can only exist with Israeli support.
It wasn't really a country at all. It was a puppet state, created for one purpose.
The so-called buffer zone just north of the border is policed by a mainly Christian militia known as the South Lebanon Army.
In the context of 1970s Lebanon, this wasn't actually all that unusual. The civil war was so...
I think it's easy, when they're straight up racist, like the guy on YouTube right now, when they're a straight up stupid racist, like the wolves, that Malcolm X talks about, it's so much easier to spot them than people like this Among Lamas who is an insufferable liberal who just wants shut the fuck up and who's like, oh, I agree with you, but Donald Trump is worse. It's like, bro, just shut up.
So chaotic that the central government basically wasn't operating.
Oh, look, I'm definitely not a liberal. Okay, this person is fucking gone, bro. How are they unmuted?
There were lots of little mini-states all over the place.
The militia of the right are fierce in defence of the territory they still hold. Those who hold the high ground are impregnable.
The Palestinians were basically running their own state in the south. The conservative Christians in Beirut were running their own state in the west. So really, what's one more state? It just so happened that the southernmost mini-state, the State of Free Lebanon, protected by the South Lebanon Army, was a puppet state of Israel. Interestingly, the residents of the area didn't kick up all that much of a fuss about their new leadership. South Lebanon...
Oh, totally. These people are just insufferable. They're insufferable. They are like worse than the fucking fascists in so many different ways. You can smell a fucking fascist. I can smell Cletus, folks. I can smell Cletus from Texas in Aotearoa. I can smell them. But the lips. The insufferable fucking lips. Whew. They sneak up on you and they don't leave. I'm done with useless care. I'm going to act with grateful kindness more when I'm angry if I can. I don't think like being kind is, it's not about being kind. It's about being effective in getting your message across. I think kindness is weakness because people think being kind is some sort of superpower. No, being an effective communicator, which I'm trying to be, and I know I can get pissed off sometimes and lose my train of thought and, let people get to me unnecessary. I'm trying to work on that. But being kind is not the thing you need to be. You need to be effective at communicating the point you're trying to make. And if people hate it, they fucking hate it. They would have hated it anyway, even if you said it kindly.
Lebanon is mostly populated by Shiites who hated the Sunni PLO just as much as the Israelis.
Yeah, exactly, Don Zero. People need to earn your kindness. People need to earn it. They don't just get it.
The whole situation very much had the enemy of my enemy is my friend energy. So it did at least have a theoretical chance of working. The Israelis, along with Saad Haddad and his South Lebanon army, were using this conveniently placed stronghold to fight the PLO, so the local Shiites were more than happy to stay out of their way. The problem wasn't in the theory, it was in the execution. Saad Haddad's army wasn't really up to the task of preventing PLO guerrillas from getting through his narrow territory into Israel.
Operating as it does with vintage weaponry such as Second World War Soviet tanks and plagued by desertions, this militia could not withstand a determined Muslim onslaught.
Which meant the buffer zone wasn't working, and attacks on Israeli civilians in the Galilee region continued.
Prime Minister Begin claims more than 150 Israelis have been assassinated on the country's northern border during the last 12 months by PLO guerrillas in southern Lebanon.
So in 1982, the Israeli military launched a full-blown invasion of Lebanon in an attempt to destroy the PLO.
And as the tanks rolled north across the border, they promised to bring a lasting peace to the population of northern Israel. They called it Operation Peace for Galilee.
The effects of the invasion were horrific. Lebanese civilians and Palestinian refugees were killed as Israeli forces swept through the country.
What started out as a punitive raid into Lebanon 4 weeks ago has turned into what some are calling the brutal final solution to the Palestinian problem.
In terms of achieving its objective...
I hate that so much. It's the Palestinian problem or the Palestinian issue, the way they use that. The Palestinian problem, the Palestinian issue, it's so dehumanizing, man. Did you already post? No, I'm making it. I've finished recording everything. I should be done tomorrow. But yeah, I'm making it the day room. I'll let you know. I'll let you know.
Objectives, the invasion went about as well as the Iran war in 2026, in that it failed spectacularly. The PLO leadership, including head honcho Yasser Arafat, escaped to Tunisia, and hundreds of Israeli soldiers and thousands of Lebanese civilians were killed.
Is this Sabra and Shatila? Is it the Sabra and Shatila massacre?
By 1985, Israel realised that to fully achieve their objective of destroying the PLO, they would have to occupy all of Lebanon indefinitely, and that wasn't going to be popular with their international allies. So they withdrew to the buffer zone area that Saad Haddad had been guarding for them. The pretense of the state of free Lebanon was dropped at this point. This was now clearly an area of Lebanon under Israeli occupation to provide security for Israeli citizens living in the Galilee.
Israel created this 75-mile-long buffer zone, placing Israeli towns like Metula, Kiryat Shmona, and Nahariya largely out of the guerrillas' rocket range.
Now, by this stage, Saad Haddad had died of cancer, and his death, paired with Israel's invasion and occupation, had made the job of maintaining the security zone in the south of Lebanon much harder. Largely because
we have to rewrite the vocabulary of the world, in order to decolonize ourselves, in order to dismantle white supremacy. Because the words we use, even the words we use, have been indoctrinated into us. The way we use them has been indoctrinated into us specifically to maintain white supremacy. Specifically. We have to unlearn these things. The Palestine issue. Saying Gazans, it's so weird how they normalize it in our brain. Gazans has become this widely used word now to describe Palestinians in Gaza. It is an attempt to wipe out an identity. And you see it gets more and more and more mainstream usage now. Gazans. Think about any other place. Think about any other place in the world. Do they call them Sydneyans? Or Auckland? You can get called Aucklanders within New Zealand, but you'll get called New Zealanders. You'll get called New Zealanders internationally. You get called Indians. But Palestinians, now they're starting to bring in Gazans into it, and it's very deliberate. It's very deliberate. Even the demarcation of North and South Gaza, there never, and Gada told me this, there never used to be a concept of North and South Gaza. Never. They created that concept during the genocide or before the genocide in order to create these two different zones. Kia ora Ngeru. Kia ora. You'll never ever, this is how they slowly just insert this sort of language into our vocabularies, and before we know it, it's being used widely, and it's just all just seeped into mainstream media, and it's fucked. I have been too nice and suffered for it. It is hard to speak on these things to my family and friends. I'm in the heart of the beast and have so little agency in my own life. This is what I mean by useless care. I am trying to learn to be active in my own house, and it is easier than most states in Minnesota, USA. Good for you, though, Tricycle. Good for you for realizing that in yourself. I think that's the first step is to acknowledge why it's hard and acknowledge that something needs to change. most people don't even get to where you are. So you should consider yourself like extremely, consider yourself as taking such a massive positive step already. It's huge. I have been too nice and suffered for it. One can be cordial, and depending on in the moment actions and kindness takes a bit of inductive reasoning based on what we can know in that moment. We can help others if we set limits and boundaries. 100%. It is unhelpful. It is unhelpful to be kind unnecessarily when you need to cut through the bullshit. Sometimes people are kind because they're avoidant. Because they just want to move on, from the situation. They don't want to help. They just want to move on. They want to leave whatever issues it is behind them. Kindness isn't helpful. I like that you don't instantly ban. You actually try to educate and drive the points home, even with people who are stubborn and have blinders on. But optimistically, maybe a few minds can be changed when they interact, and it will sink in eventually. Otherwise, of course, it's just an echo chamber and preaching to the choir. It often takes months/years to change worldviews that have to be implanted into people with years of brainwashing and propaganda by media governments. Yeah. There have been people like on the right who've come into this live who've been like completely against what I've been saying, etc. And then they've just looked. There has been that little bit of development, and they've just looked in a little bit further into history, what their ancestors have done, etc., or what their ancestors went through, and that's been enough to change. Like, I think a lot of people are on the cusp of a breakthrough. But yeah, I could just ban people for whatever. But I do give them a little bit of time. Some people are fucking insufferable. I hate it when people say, oh yeah, I'm on your side, but I agree with you, but it's like, what? So you don't agree with me? Why don't you just say you don't agree with me? Why are you trying to like fucking give me like a compliment sandwich? We're not at fucking work, bro. You're not my manager.
All those things had seriously upset the people who actually lived in the zone.
And it operates amongst a Shiite Muslim population.
But like Malcolm X says, man, the wolf is much easier to spot in the wild than the fox. And that to me has resonated with me more than anything else. Like a fascist, racist, just these like outwardly just bigoted people are so easy to spot. So easy to spot. I'll even talk to them, honestly. I'll fucking talk to them. The ones that probably drive me the most nuts are liberals, bro. Fuck. Oh. Because I'm talking to them. Then they're just talking over me and not listening. And they argue like genocide. It's like, oh yeah, genocide's bad, but, domestic policy. This is I'll show you the video. Tricycle. This is what he says. It's a very famous moment by Malcolm X, and he basically sums up liberalism, white liberalism.
There are many whites who are trying to solve the problem, but you never see them going under the label of liberals. That white person that you see calling himself a liberal is the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere. He's the most deceitful. He's like a fox, and a fox is always more dangerous in the forest than the wolf. You can see the wolf coming. You know what he's up to, but the fox will fool you. He comes at you with his mouth shaped in such a way that even though you see his teeth, you think he's smiling, and you take him for a friend.
Yeah. Beware the fox.
There are many whites who are trying to solve the problem.
Beware the fox. Hey, Kentucky Wildcat. Kia ora, welcome. Kia ora, Steve. beware the fox, everybody.
Which Israel
Son
managed
of a-
by its occupation to turn from a relatively neutral neighbor into an implacable foe.
The Shiite Muslims in southern Lebanon had initially greeted the Israelis as liberators, hoping that they would crush the predominantly Sunni PLO.
It's good
but
to
the
see you,
botched
Fudge.
invasion and
Welcome.
occupation that resulted in so many Lebanese civilian casualties had turned them against Israel. As the Israelis retreated, the citizens of the Galilee were again under threat.
Once again, Israelis in the north are preparing themselves for a new onslaught. Their enemy may have changed, the Palestinians have been replaced by Shiite Muslims, but they are nevertheless preparing for the worst.
Now, an important thing to note here is what those Shiite Muslim militants called themselves.
Hezbollah, the Party of God, the most fanatical of Lebanon's Shiite Muslims, are now firmly, openly, and successfully established in Beirut.
Camper Adventurer, like that one is the craziest one. I'm not racist, I have brown friends, or I'm not racist, I'm married to a Vietnamese lady, or I'm not racist, my niece is brown, or whatever. Those are the funniest little cope moments. So we don't have nobody. Sorry, Emma, can you elaborate, please?
Beirut.
Hezbollah, a political and military movement supported by the Iranian government under Ayatollah Khomeini.
Day by day, their following grows, as once moderate Shiites abandon Western ways and embrace the teachings of Ayatollah Khomeini.
With Iranian financing, Hezbollah created their own quasi-state entity, which was pretty similar to Saad Haddad's South Lebanese army. They even had their own TV and radio stations. Obviously, though, it was a lot less Christian music and youth pastor vibes and a lot more of this.
And a lot more of this. Let me just pull it up. And a lot more of this. Let's go, chat. Let's go, chat. Hey, Masi. By the way, that track is what they used to play. It was the State of Alert song in Iran when the Iran-Iraq war was happening. This was their anthem. So it was like a call to arms, I guess.
And like a lot of big, scary weapons.
The weapons are still coming from Iran, though most are now kept hidden close to the front line.
But while Hezbollah had replaced the PLO as the primary threat to northern Israel, they were a slightly different kind of threat. While the PLO was focused on terrorizing civilians, trying to trigger an exodus, Hezbollah was a bit more strategic. They were primarily a challenge to the Israeli military, using civilian attacks as a tool of retaliation and pressure, not the main event. For the people of Galilee, they were a worry.
As an Italian/Spanish growing up in New York, I have seen a ridiculous amount of white supremacy. White people usually feel comfortable enough around me to express their true thoughts. It's been an easy way for me to see who to cut off over the years. Yeah. I put a message up on Reddit once, just going, hey, have people experience racism, etc. in their workplace? And I was like, please don't tell me your workplace. And so many people replied back. and a lot of people were like, yeah, I haven't experienced it directly, but when there was beers happening, and there were a bunch of white guys standing around, they said some real racist shit or things like that were happening. This is the thing, like, who knows what's said in white circles, right? Like, we don't get to see it. But I have heard some things. And even in Indian circles, guys, like when you're just among Indians, even when you're just among Indians, like some of the worst shit is said. Like people will drop some racist crap. And if you can't react to that and stop people when you're in your sort of area with your people, then you'll never do it. Like you've got to confront it no matter where you are. You have to try and confront it. It's okay if you've missed some situations in the past, but moving forward, even when you're in your circles, try and confront it. Like I've left so many fucking parties and fucking drinks because people around me have said the most like racist shit and just called them out. And me on beers, bro, like on beersies, before, like I never used to go on social media and stuff. I never was like a public speaker or anything. I was never that confident. So when I used to drink beers, I used to become a little bit more, and my filter used to drop a little bit. So I used to often say to people what I thought. And if someone said something racist, I used to just go off on people, right? Like if they said something like properly racist, like use the N-word in some cases, people would use that. And yeah, now I've just dropped the filter completely, even sober. So that's a thing. But I think how you behave in private is very important. To how you behave in who you are, right? Like you have to take that accountability, that responsibility on yourself. I walked out of a pub once because this white dude, an older guy, an ex-exec, etc., dropped the N-bomb, right? He dropped the N-bomb because he felt comfortable. We were drinking. I just told him it's fucked up and I walked out and I left. Next day he messaged me and he said, I've taken that word out of my vocabulary. Like you have to do it. You have to do it. You have to stand up.
But not one that made Kiryat Shimona unlivable. They just needed to ramp up their protective efforts. The kids did their lessons in the bunkers. The Israeli defense...
I mean, obviously, I did not believe that he took that word out of his vocabulary. Because if you can drop it that simply, that easily, in a group of people, I mean, you've dropped it many times before that.
Force and the South Lebanon army patrolled the cliff top above them. To them, Hezbollah was more of a vague existential risk rather than something that invaded your nightmares. For the Israeli military, though, it was a different story.
Nightfall is not an end, but a beginning of the fighting. A machine gun fires toward where the last Hezbollah attack came from.
Gradually, the Israeli military casualty list grew, past a dozen, then past 100. And then one day in 1997, something happened that changed the Israeli population's appetite for the continued occupation of this part of Lebanon.
They began burying the dead in Israel, the first of 73 funerals, after a tragedy that has left the Jewish state stunned.
The 73 dead were soldiers, killed when 2 Air Force transport helicopters collided just east of Kiryat Shimona.
Parents, brothers and a little sister grieved along with friends in a picture being repeated in so many places across Israel.
But the government knew that this disaster could have serious ramifications, not because of what had happened or even how many people had died, but because of where the helicopters were going.
The soldiers on board the doomed helicopters were being ferried to South Lebanon, where Israel's continuing occupation claims a steady stream of Israeli lives. It's increasingly unpopular and debate about its worth is intensifying.
The people of Israel were fed up with the death toll on their northern border. But the Prime Minister at the time, a young fellow by the name of Bibi Netanyahu, insisted that this terrible accident wouldn't change anything about their strategy in Lebanon.
I think it's disgusting how they keep calling him Bibi Netanyahu, like calling him by his nickname, normalizing like this camaraderie, some sort of camaraderie. They should call him by his full name. Benjamin Netanyahu. Call him Benjamin. Okay? Don't. I mean, they wouldn't call Sinwar by any other name than Muhammad Sinwar. You know? Like, why the fuck would they say Bibi? Kia ora, Fix Today. Milakowski, man.
And we are not going to be deterred, and we're not going to relent. We shall defend our country. We shall reduce the risk. Ultimately, we shall achieve the peace.
But protests by the families of soldiers deployed to Lebanon grew. And at the following election, Netanyahu was defeated by a candidate who had made a clear promise.
The new leader has promised to withdraw Israeli soldiers from their buffer zone in southern Lebanon without risking the security of Israel's northern residents.
A year later, the IDF were out of southern Lebanon, and that area belonged to the Lebanese people again.
Lebanon is celebrating liberation. 2 decades of Israeli occupation of the southern 10% of the country finally came to an end in the early hours of the morning. The last Israeli tank rolled back across the border.
And you might be asking, what happened to the South Lebanon Army, the outfit set up by Saad Haddad back in the 1970s? Well,
Israel says it's preparing to accept 10,000 refugees, soldiers and supporters of the Israeli-backed militia, the South Lebanon Army.
The puppet state collapsed instantly, like any puppet does when its strings are cut. Hezbollah claimed the former state of Free Lebanon just hours after the withdrawal.
Death to Israel is the chant from Hezbollah fighters. It's not new, but now they're right on Israel's doorstep.
Hezbollah fighters advanced right up to the border fence and started shouting taunts at the Israelis on the other side.
We can't do anything when women and children are here, this Hezbollah fighter tells me in German, but in the dark, you'll see, we'll kill them all.
And yet, despite the clear threat of escalation, the violence did not escalate all that much. For the next 23 years, excepting a flare-up here and there, the border zone was relatively peaceful. But Hezbollah didn't want Israel to think they were no longer a threat. This prolonged window of peace gave them a lot of time to arm themselves.
Hezbollah has about 100,000 missiles south of the Litani River in southern Lebanon there. All those missiles are pointed in towards Israel.
They were waiting for their moment to unleash those missiles. And that moment came in 2023.
Israel has now launched artillery strikes into Lebanon after Hezbollah claimed responsibility for a number of mortar attacks.
Following Hamas's attack on Israel on the 7th of October 2023.
This is such a crazy thing. Like, everything was really peaceful and then Hezbollah launched. It was actually Israel who attacked Hezbollah first. It was actually Israel that attacked Hezbollah first. And they'll never say it. They'll never say it. It was Israel that attacked Hezbollah locations first. They were the ones who provoked Hezbollah.
Hezbollah entered the war on Hamas's side.
And we've already seen Hezbollah in southern Lebanon firing rockets into northern Israel.
The attacks led to Israel doing something they hoped they would never have to do. They started evacuating Galilee towns.
After days of escalating clashes on its border with Lebanon, Israel has declared some areas closed military zones, forcing residents to leave.
The risk has emptied towns across the north. Its women and children are gone, as its men prepare for war.
In the eastern Galilee alone, where Kiryat Shimona is located, over 39,000 residents were displaced. And the people who left wondered when they'd be able to return to their homes.
So you're worried about going back?
Yes, of course. I'm terrified. I have a child, she's 10 years old. I don't want she live like this. It's a problem.
Any conflict with Hezbollah is bound to be broader and could be even deadlier than the war in Gaza. The group is far bigger than Hamas.
For a country built on the promise that Jews would always have a safe place to live, being forced to evacuate the Galilee again was a massive humiliation. It was an admission of strategic failure, essentially handing territory to the enemy. The people who fled were promised it was only temporary. They would be able to return home soon. But that was a promise that seemed like it would be very hard for Bibi Netanyahu to keep. Every day the Galilee was empty was another day that Netanyahu had failed to protect his people. It was a failure that would surely cost Netanyahu dearly when he needed to face an election in 2026. But here's the thing. Unbeknownst to the people of the Galilee, unbeknownst to almost anyone, an incredibly audacious plan was underway. A plan which Netanyahu and his government hoped would eliminate the threat of Hezbollah once and for all.
Audacious. This wasn't audacious. It was terrorism. Like what Israel did here was terrorism. They committed. Fuck, man.
It was a plan that had been underway for years. A trap that Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah was unknowingly setting for himself. That story is next on If You're Listening.
Yeah, this is the whitewashing of these crimes. Yo, True Duck Lover, welcome. This is the whitewashing of crimes. It's the victimization of the oppressor and the dehumanization of the oppressed. It never ever truly paints the real picture. Israel is backed by the world's superpowers against people who have very little. This is the lack of educating people of the asymmetries in the world. Even Lebanon sanctioned for ages. Iran sanctioned, Syria sanctioned, everyone sanctioned. The West uses its impunity to block any sort of growth in these areas for their people. And then when groups like this come up, it's the West that becomes the victim, you know? I find it astonishing that we're still in this moment where the media is doing this, trying to whitewash the crimes of the West. I find it absurd. I find it racist, which it is. And social media is doing everything, doing all of it. You know, social media just continues down this path of dehumanizing black and brown people around the world. It is absolutely just sick, man. It's gross how the West protects Israel. Yeah, the West is protecting itself. Israel is the West. Israel is the West. Okay, so let's do... Man, I can't believe I got a violation for nothing on TikTok again. Like, what am I doing for this violation? Like, I don't even have anything on the screen. Insane. Okay, well, anyway. I was keen to quickly catch this. So, let's do this one first. So, the judge orders release of unredacted Epstein files as new subpoena is issued. So, Chud's reporting you probably for BS. Look, man, if TikTok blocks me out, you know, it is what it is. We are on other platforms. We'll keep going. So, judge orders DOJ to unredact additional Epstein documents. Here we go. This is something new.
federal judge yesterday ordered the Justice Department to unredact additional pages of the Epstein
Eric
files,
Cutter.
including that, quote,
Thank you so much for
the
the
Attorney
follow.
General has violated the Epstein Act by redacting the names of senders and recipients in at least 8 email exchanges with Mr. Epstein regarding a torture video and sexual activity with young women, including minors. Joining our conversation right now is former federal prosecutor Brendan Ballou, who represents Katie Phang. Katie Phang is the independent journalist who filed the suit, and good for her for doing so. So, Brendan, the Justice Department now has until July 2nd to either turn over these documents or explain why the redactions should not be unredacted. Are you expecting to see the files, or are you gearing up for a bigger battle?
Well, Stanley Woodward, the number 3 Justice Department official, just entered a notice of appearance in our case. So we expect that they are really freaked out right now, because it's more than just the redactions. You know, there are the specific emails where you're talking about, as you said, torture videos, potential.
So Mullah is a time traveler? Uncanny.
Potentially sex with minor women, where the names of the senders and recipients have been redacted. But there's also the fact that there are documents related to Donald Trump that were never produced in the first place. There are issues with the fact that this is a case, an investigation that spanned multiple countries internationally. The Department of Justice categorically did not review documents that weren't in the English language. They just said that they didn't do it. And then on top of that, the redactions that they did make, they didn't explain, which they were required to do by law. So, you know, Judge Sullivan issued a preliminary injunction granting everything that we and Katie Phang requested and rejecting every single argument that the department.
Yeah, but think about it, Unify. Yeah, he let's imagine that he was distracting from the Epstein files. He distracted from the Epstein files into the destruction of American imperialism. You know, like that. If people, that distraction is fine with me. That distraction is absolutely fine with me, because ultimately the Epstein files was supposed to impact, you know, the cabal, or whatever people want to call it. But that cabal is led by American imperialism. So American imperialism has been injured in a very bad way, and a good distraction, in my opinion.
Department of Justice made here.
Why?
Well, a shit distraction in that he killed a shitload more people. America was always going to kill a shitload more people anyway. It's just the sickness of the situation of American imperialism. It just keeps killing people. It's fucking insane.
Why does your client, why does Katie Phang want to see the unredacted versions of these particular files? Not faulting her at all.
Sure.
Good for her. Great journalism. Good for her for subpoenaing it. But there's like 3 million files still missing. Also, like there's so many things. What is it about these files?
These are, you know, as you said, there are millions of documents at issue here. When you're going for a preliminary injunction, it's really important to focus on the things where it is just obvious. It's indisputable that the government is violating the law here. And the important thing is, in their defense, the government didn't even try to argue that it was following the law. They just argued on standing here. And so, you know, these are cases where it's so clear that there is potential wrongdoing here, that these are not the names of victims or minors. These are the names of potential co-conspirators, potential perpetrators that need to get
right. But as you note, in their previous release of about half of the documents that they are under law supposed to have released by a long time ago, they redacted the names of possible perpetrators and did not redact the names of victims and survivors, again, contrary to the law. Are you worried at all about that happening with these files?
Only if the Department of Justice is actively malicious and tries to punish victims here by releasing names. You know, it is obvious here that the names that are at issue are the names of perpetrators or people in Jeffrey Epstein's orbits, not...
Casey, that's so crazy. Eh? Sex with minor women, including minors, is a crazy way to say child rape, yeah.
Not victims. And if in the incredibly unusual case that they are victims, Judge Sullivan has given them a chance to say as much and explain why they can't produce that. So they have the chance to do that.
A billionaire investor with ties to Jeffrey Epstein is being deposed amid the ongoing House Oversight Committee investigation into the dead pedophile and his evil web. Leon Black, the former head of private equity firm...
Oh!
globalized intifada.
Wow! They're doing Leon Black? Bro, this guy is the dude. Okay? This is the guy.
Apollo Global Management sat today for a closed-door interview on Capitol Hill about his relationship with Epstein. Lawmakers say Black declined to answer questions about non-disclosure agreements, or NDAs, and that's when the chairman of the committee, James Comer, made this move.
I have just issued 2 subpoenas to Mr. Black. The NDAs are between him and other women. We want to know, was Jeffrey Epstein involved in the NDAs? Was he involved in writing? Was he involved in awarding funds to the women for the NDAs? What was the reason for the NDAs? We want to know everything about the NDAs.
It's hard to overstate just how significant it is that a Republican chairman of this committee made that announcement to issue 2 subpoenas. That is a big deal. Leon Black apparently expressed regret about his dealings with the late sex offender in a letter to investors in 2020 after a New York Times report alleged, quote, the 2 men often socialized and dined together, and Mr. Black was a lucrative client for Mr. Epstein over the final decade of his life, unquote. Black then stepped away from Apollo in 2021. An internal investigation by the company found no wrongdoing. That probe ultimately concluded Black's payments to Epstein totaled $158 million between 2012 and 2017.
Wow.
Black is one of the rare witnesses that the House panel has talked to.
We've done all this investigation too. We've done all of this investigation. We should restart it, eh? We should restart it. But I don't want to drop the ball on news as well. I need to figure this out. Like, maybe we can do like weekend Epsteins, or I don't know, like something. But we should definitely restart it.
Who have faced allegations of abusing women in connection with Epstein. One woman told the FBI that Black became sexual in a massage Epstein had directed her to give him. A separate woman alleged that Black had raped her in 2014 and described going to Epstein's Florida house with Black, where she says she was told she would have sex with Epstein. An attorney for Leon Black tells CNN he has never, quote, abused, assaulted, or raped, unquote, any girl or woman, and calls the allegations, quote, completely false. Black has categorically denied any wrongdoing and knowledge of Epstein's crimes. In his opening statement to the Oversight Committee, he said, quote, I have never abused a woman. I have never been with an underage woman. I have never engaged in sex trafficking. I have never paid Epstein for access to women. I was never blackmailed by Epstein. I was not involved with and had no knowledge of any of Epstein's heinous conduct, unquote. What do you make of Chairman Comer's announcement that the committee is going to issue 2 subpoenas for Leon Black? And did he earn those subpoenas by not really testifying and cooperating?
I agree 100% with Chairman Comer. You know, we were in the first hour of what we expected to be a multi-hour interview with Mr.
Yeah, the underage woman thing, crazy.
Black, as soon as questions came up about the NDAs. And it's important to note, the NDAs are a result, in at least one case, of women making allegations of sexual abuse against Mr. Black. He then paid them to sign NDAs. We want to understand more about that, whether Jeffrey Epstein was involved, what were the circumstances, was there any coercion in the signing of those NDAs? Black refused to answer any questions related to the NDAs. The subpoena will require him not only to answer questions, but to turn over details of the NDAs.
And were you able to learn anything new from his testimony at all?
I don't know that we learned anything new in the hour. He described his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. He expressed some admiration for Epstein's intellect and lifestyle. He seemed to enjoy their friendship and relationship and professed to have no knowledge of Epstein's crimes. That's why we want to understand the NDAs and any relationship to Epstein.
Under subpoena, will you be able to ask him questions about the 2 women that have alleged sexual misconduct or rape by Leon Black, both of whom have ties to Epstein? Again, I should remind people that an attorney for Mr. Black tells CNN he has never assaulted, abused, or raped any girl or woman. But will you be able to ask about it under a subpoena?
Yes, we will. The NDAs don't bar Congress from asking questions and don't prevent him from being responsive to the subpoena.
But he'll be able to plead the 5th, right? Is that the only way he doesn't?
He could plead the 5th.
Or he could say, I don't remember.
He could. That would be at odds with his multiple professions of innocence, but he could.
Black's payments to Epstein totaled $158 million. between 2012 and 2017. We know that from an internal investigation about Black's ties to Epstein by Apollo, that probe found no wrongdoing after reviewing more than 60,000 documents and interviewing 20 people. Is Apollo cooperative at all?
Well, we have questions about that investigation, and there was a line of questions in the first hour pointing out the fact that some at that law firm involved with the investigation had relationships with Jeffrey Epstein. And I think if we had more time with Mr. Black today, we would ask more detailed questions about that. I think that's a topic that will come up in the deposition on July 16th. But at the end of the day, Congress is not going to rely on an investigation hired by a law firm that Apollo Group hired. We're conducting our own investigation.
Okay, so that's really insane. How do you guys want to do this? Do you guys want to? I want to ask you. Do you guys want to get back to the Epstein files, like say a couple of times a week? Do you guys want to get back to going through file by file? Like what's the approach here? How are we going to do it? Just kind of how we used to do it? Get back to how we used to do it, kind of? So maybe we can do like a dedicated show for the Epstein files. Some days files, some days breaking news. Yeah. Okay, done. So I'll start planning for next week and get everything ready, and maybe swap the days up. Yeah. Maybe we can start from like next week. Maybe I can do like 2 days a week on the Epstein files, and we can go through like the 500 files we used to go through each live. And we can continue to update everything. There's barely enough coming out so slowly that a periodic report is impossible anymore. But a portion on Epstein files each day, I just don't think we can do enough. It's a lot of preparation, Unify. Breaking news with the follow-up. Okay, let me think about it. Mixing things up is likely the best and keeps one topic from overwhelming at the expense of others. Yeah, I think mixing it up might be better, guys. It's hard to, but in a live, it's very hard to context switch. Like if we're going on news, then it's better to stick to news. So I think it's we either focus on. Yeah, in Epstein we do deep dive. It's a lot of energy as well. Like I can't do two different things. It's very hard to context switch like that. Trust me, it's super hard. So we'll figure it out. We'll do 2 days in a week is good by me. Yeah, let's figure it out. Because we need to be effective as well, right? Like, we can't... I mean, we're going through file by file, so we need to be more effective. Oh my gosh. There's so much to catch back up on. The good thing is there'll be no more files released, so we can just basically start from where we left off. Okay, let's do it then. I'll start preparing for it. Maybe we can do one tomorrow. What do you guys think? Maybe we can do a 500 pages tomorrow? You guys up for that? We do 500 pages tomorrow, get things kicked off. Yeah, 500 emails. I'm already exhausted thinking about it. Nah, it'll be good. Okay, so we just need to split it up. Hopefully, I'll have my doco done tomorrow as well, so I can show you guys. We kick off with the doco. It'll only be a 10-minute show, and then we can do the 500 emails. And I don't know. It'll be 2 or 3 days a week. We can do Epstein files. Maybe more, because the effectiveness of all of this is. What time are you thinking? I'll try and adjust sleep for. Scary. I'm thinking same time, 7 p.m. Scary, because there's so much work to do in the daytime with like getting all the content and the news out. There's so much work to do, so I'll do that, and then we can start up the Epstein stuff again. I'll show you guys what we found. The professional news reporters. You mean the people who were part of the fucking Epstein circle? Like, we can do a recap now quickly on what we've done. Hold up. Let me just log in. We need Shiny as well. Like, we need Shiny back too. Where is Shiny? Is Shiny playing? Okay. Can I share my screen? Surely I can share my screen, right? Surely. While doing this, surely I can share my screen. Okay. So we read through about 15,000 emails the last time. Wait, let me just chuck the screen on 1 second. Let me just chuck the Epstein files. Yeah, so this is where we were when we left all of this stuff off. So yeah, we're gonna get back to the files from tomorrow. So we read through 15,000 emails, and we began collecting profiles of people. And we collected a whole bunch of profiles that were in the emails, right? Like, we got over 300 people's profiles, names in those files. So we collected all of these. So many. We created individual profiles for them. And Shiny was, you know, pretty important in getting all of this. And these are all the investigative pieces. So we have the investigation pipeline here. So things that to look at later. We have just more suspect things, sus things, warm leads, cold leads. We also mapped out Jeffrey Epstein's business model, how his hotel rooms worked, like his dungeons. What we called it was a pedophile brothel, a distributed pedophile brothel, I think we called it. Distributed pedo chambers is what we called it. Allegedly. So remember the words allegedly, okay? And yeah, so we mapped out what rooms were there. We mapped out how these rooms worked. We mapped out how these rooms were booked, who booked them for who. And people got pissed off at me for calling Ghislaine. I called her Ghislaine. We're going to continue to call her Ghislaine, okay? I'm not going to not call her Ghislaine. We also have enablers. So these were companies. These were people who worked for companies that were helping Epstein with his business. I can't. There's so many people. Like American Express, for example, without American Express, his network of shenanigans would not have worked. And yeah, we had an accountability wall as well, like of all the people starting to have some level of accountability. We need to come back to this and refresh this. More subpoenas I expected. Nice. Yeah, I mean, we also did some links. We also made connections. Vala, Jeffrey Epstein, and Peter Thiel. We had that. We had Ehud Barak, Les Wexner, and Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, we did a fair bit, guys. We did a fair bit. I think we did a hell of a lot. We also did some connections between Ariane de Rothschild, Kathy Rumla, Ehud Barak, and Leon Black. We also got their accounts. It's not just me, Scars. It's not just me. It's we have a couple of people who were helping as well. So this is a team effort for sure. I'm not going to take all the thing for it. This is a team effort. See Leon Black with Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner. And we started following some threads, guys. We started following some threads. We started doing deeper dives like side quests. We started doing side quests. So we've done a few side quests. Yeah, this is Peggy Saigal. So we started to understand the network of organizers. We started to understand who were the people responsible for putting Jeffrey Epstein into parties with powerful people. We started to understand that. We also started to understand how this whole business worked. So things like a timeline of, all the way from Donald Trump and Leon Black going to Russia in 1996 to their connections with Vladimir Putin and his cronies to the connections with Israel as well. So yeah, we're gonna go back to this, and this one here is quite good. Eva Anderson Dubin with Jeffrey Epstein in 1985. We were starting to understand the connections between the modeling agencies. So these were the hypotheses that we were drawing. A federal judge has asked the Department of Justice to release more of the Epstein files without redactions. Can you post this on social media? Man, there's so much to post. Let's just start working on it. We can start tomorrow. Let's start tomorrow. Basically, all of this information has been gathered. All of this information was gathered by reading 15,000 individual emails. But it's only 15,000. There are 300,000 individual emails to read. So you can imagine, like we estimated that there are potentially over 100,000 names all up that we could get from these emails. So do you believe that anyone that had connections, it's not just about connections, it's also what sort of connections were they? Like, for example, like for each of these profiles here, we have emails on how they helped, or how they were connected. Like, all of these are linked to actual Justice Department documents, right? So these are linked to the actual Justice Department document. Like, this is an insane amount of work. Okay? So we know which party these people went to. We know everything. Like Maria Borderomo, for example, is on there too. It's not about what I believe, Kefa. It's not about what I believe. It's about gathering all the information from the raw documents. I mean, I'm not here trying to say all of these people are complicit in something. We were just looking at the documents. We were just looking at the documents and collecting the information and organizing it. That's all. So we'll just continue to do that. Yeah, Isa, this is all made here. Yeah, it's not just me. There's a couple of people who have been helping as well, like Shiny and a couple of others. But yeah, these are from the 15,000 odd emails that I read. Yes. Yeah, Dave, totally. Like, every name here has a link. Every name here has evidence links. Would AI scanning emails, flagging people? Yeah, I think we can do AI scanning for sure to speed up the process. Yeah. Because I did try AI scanning a while ago, but I think the models have improved now, so we can most likely use AI scanning for sure. We can speed up the process. Are you guys up for it? Are we going to get back into it? Yeah, Kefa, like, we're not going into this assuming that all these people are criminals. All we're doing is going through the emails and finding people referenced in it. I mean, these are all DOJ documents, right? So we're just going through the documents one by one. That's it. He was a very popular pedophile, right? So you gotta think about it that way. People just schmoozing with a pedophile is, they might not all be in on it, but it's pretty bad when you start linking things together. It goes pretty deep, and there's a lot of evidence there that they were at parties, questionable parties with him. Okay. So I've got my ChatGPT account. We can just go through and start scanning all of these files one by one, and start adding, instead of reading every single file, maybe we scan them and get information out. I'll figure out how to do that. I'll figure out how to do that before the live tomorrow. But I think that's a pretty good use of AI, don't you think? Nah, Claude's expensive. I can't use Claude.
New follower detected.
Hey, RuMC. Thank you for the follow. Okay, so we're starting this tomorrow. I think we can be a lot faster, guys. Use Grok there, poetic irony there. Nah. Grok sucks, bro. Yeah, we can get through a lot more like this. We've gotten through 15,000 reading individual emails, guys. So we read every single individual email of 15,000 emails. Obviously, we're going to miss some context by putting it through AI, but I think we can extract context too. So let me just work it out. The models have gotten a lot better, so I think we can speed up this process. Good times. Okay, guys, let's start tomorrow. Bring your analytical hats on tomorrow. We're going to go through as many files as we can. I think we can do maybe 10,000 files tomorrow. Who knows? I can get all the raw files too. I know where to get them from. Yeah, 7 p.m. New Zealand Standard Time. Scary. We'll start yo, Steve-O. Yeah, totally Unify. Totally. You guys ready? Holy shit, we're doing it. We're back. We're back on the files. Woo! Hey, Lucky Strike. Someone must do it. Yeah. Nah, let's do it. Let's do it. These people all of this needs to be released somehow. One of the most insane things we found, guys. One of the most insane things we found. I actually shared this with a bunch of it's this one here. This is so insane. Okay, you're gonna go, holy shit, when I read this to you. Okay, this is the most insane thing I think I've found. So Caroline Levitt here said, according to a 2-page Department of Justice and FBI memo, investigators found no incriminating list of clients and no credible evidence that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals. Okay? This is what we found in a file. Okay, I'll read this whole thing for you, okay? Drakova was also a publicist for quantum computing technology investment firms Quantum Wave Fund, aka Q-Wave Capital, and Runa Capital, both headed by Russian technologist and entrepreneur Sergei Belousov, aka Serge Bell, date of birth blah, now based in Singapore. This is an FBI document, by the way. This is an FBI email. Belousov's co-founder of Q-Wave Capital, Sergei Kozmine, date of birth, blah, who co-founded the online micro-lending company FinTech Ventures and the gambling gaming company Ritzio Entertainment with Russian oligarch Oleg Boyko, date of birth, blah. Since April 2021, Draper and Frank Moyle Creer, as the chief executive officer of his not-for-profit organization Draper Hero Institute, 55 East 3rd Avenue, San Mateo, California. Creer was also previously an officer with Draper at DFJ Capital. This is the important part. Kriya was an active member of a private, high-end, high initiation fee sex swingers club in Los Angeles and Northern California called Sanctum, and collected information on members of Sanctum for the purposes of blackmail, similar to Jeffrey Epstein. This is an internal FBI email. Let me just say that again. Here is the DOJ saying there is no credible evidence that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals. But this is an FBI, internal FBI email saying that the guy who owned Sanctum was blackmailing his clients similar to Jeffrey Epstein. Look at this. These are all FBI people. Similar to how Epstein previously funneled money into a research lab at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which he used as a means for gaining access to politicians and decision makers who were also interested in the research being conducted. Kriya funneled money into quantum computing research through Q-Wave Capital, through which he also gained access to politicians and decision makers possibly susceptible. Oh my gosh, my gifting has been suspended. Why? Because I shared the screen? I can't even share this screen? Yeah, TikTok, I may not be able to share screen at all, which is insane. Similar to how Epstein previously funneled money into a research lab. Oh, yeah. Politicians and Kriya and Jerviston through DFJ Capital were both investors with Belousov's tech venture capital firm, Runa Capital, in Q-Wave Capital. Kriya also knew Masha Drakova, the publicist of Q-Wave Capital. And if you know Masha Drakova, you know how massive this is. Why uncertainty persists and where evidence would be decisive? Uncertainty persists because some potentially decisive materials, explicit demand letters, payment trials tied to concealment or authoritative prosecutorial findings that list blackmail as a central transactional method either remain sealed, disputed, or have not been released in full. Journalistic timelines and public reporting repeatedly return to the same suggestive artifacts labeled recordings, witness recollections, public assertions by associates that form a cumulative case for blackmail as a successful tactic, while cautioning that not every claim has been legally adjudicated in the same way as Epstein's trafficking convictions. You see this? Why the uncertainty? That's saying that there hasn't been any evidence found that could be looked at with regards to Epstein's blackmailing. But this, to me, is that evidence. This, to me, is that evidence. There you go, criminal crossovers. Yeah, but this is not terms of service though. This is publicly available files. This is not against their... I'll just use DeepSeek if I have to. It doesn't matter, guys. Like, fuck, we can do this. There's no problem in looking at publicly available DOJ files in ChatGPT. They can track Bin Laden across the globe, but not find a file document. Yeah. Okay, guys. Yeah, and we found a shitload of... Shiny did some investigation on Leon Black's stuff. Leon Black's, just some evidence of Leon Black's blackmail. All right, folks. We'll see you tomorrow, eh? We'll see you tomorrow. I don't know if I can share this screen on TikTok. I don't think I can because it's already giving me issues. Maybe if it was smaller or something, I don't know. Maybe it's too big like this. I don't know, man. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I don't know why it's doing this, honestly. Later, everybody. Who are we raiding? We need someone to raid on Twitch. We've got a whole bunch of people here. Let's raid somebody. Let's go. Who we raiding? Twitch. Peace, everybody. Peace. Peace, 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 peace. Yeah, Shy's all good. Let's go. Shy Thembo, is it? It is. Shy. Shy's amazing, everybody. Enjoy Shy's live. I will catch you all tomorrow. Day 1 of the new Jeffrey Epstein files run. We're going to do it. We're going to do the Jeffrey Epstein files run from tomorrow. Take care, everybody. And I will catch you all tomorrow. Come hydrated. Come ready. Come with your investigative minds on, and we'll crack it. We'll do some shit. We'll get it done. All right, everyone, take care. Here we go. Twitch in 3, 2, 1. Let's go, Twitch. Enjoy Shy's stream. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Twitch, catch you soon. TikTok, kia ora. Kakite, pomarie. I'll catch you all tomorrow. And YouTube, take care. Kakite, pomarie. Catch you all tomorrow. Free Palestine.